This is the emergency podcast system. This is not a test. Movies are bombing all over the country. They are posing as movies you already know. They may already be in your theaters, your neighbor's home, or even your own. Do not panic. Specialists have been dispatched. They will help you identify these pretenders and defend you against this invasion of the remake. Please stand by for further instructions.
Welcome to the 100th episode of Invasion of the Remake. I am your host, Jason Bishop, and with me today is Sam Stepanenko.
Hello, hello, hello.
And fresh from the Emerald Isles,
Woohoo!
the Bonnie Lass. The Bonnie Lass,
Oh,
that
yes.
is Trish Coughlin.
Yes, Irish Trish Coughlin. Patricia. Apparently Trish, very, very common name in Ireland. I met like 4 Trishes while I was over there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, didn't realize that.
So welcome back.
Thank you.
You had a good trip?
It's good to be back. Oh, I had a great trip.
I'm still reeled by the fact that you got a sunburn in Ireland.
Worst sunburn in 10 years from Ireland. And it's
Well done,
still
woman.
red in certain
Well
places.
done.
If anybody can do it, I can.
That's right. Absolutely. Did you get a few fans out there while you were there?
Yeah,
you start
no,
hawking the show a little bit?
I was hawking the show here and there.
Nice,
Met a
nice.
few people. Met this one guy who was doing the ghost tour in was it? He was in Kilkenny. He was doing the ghost tour, and he was talking about how he was like into film and doing film. And I'm like, hey, we have a podcast, and he wanted to listen to. He likes listening to podcasts when he's taking the bus down to Cork. So I'm like, yeah. So yeah,
Nice.
Carl, this is a shout out to you. If you're
Hey,
listening.
Carl.
I hope you're hearing us.
Good luck with the film stuff. If you need some, throw some famous podcasters in there.
Yeah.
I don't know any in particular, but we'll do it.
Oh, for sure, for sure. We'll come on down if you want some Canadians just as like fodder for some monster. We're here.
Done.
Absolutely.
So this is our 100th episode. As I said, 100 episodes. My God, holy shit, Jesus
Wow.
Christ. 101 if you count the 0 episode, but it's like a half thing, and we don't actually, we just bullshit, and it's a good intro. We're not going to count the 0. Well,
No.
because it's a 0. This is the 1. This is the 100th episode.
Yes.
And Creature from Black Lagoon has been one of the more requested ones, and we want to beat Universal to the punch on this thing. It's the only major Universal monster never to be remade. And it has a trilogy of movies, and we are happy to get to it, and especially considering how they dropped the ball in The Mummy recently. Let's fix this before they get to it.
Before they get to it, and several attempts to try and do it.
I'm still
for-
baffled that the next one's Bride of Frankenstein when they haven't introduced Frankenstein yet. He is,
Yeah.
and it's way down the slate. I'm like, what the fuck are you people doing?
I don't know. I mean, is Guillermo del Toro still attached to Frankenstein, or has he dropped that now too?
I don't know, but if he's smart, he'd get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's
or
dropped some stuff
or
before.
he'd stay in and save the goddamn thing. But they're so they're already off to such a rocky start that I can see this whole thing collapsing.
They've got
For
Fox
sure.
syndrome, doing stuff out of fucking order.
Fox syndrome.
Yeah, I call it. That's what I call it when they start, because they killed TV series by playing episodes out of
Oh
order.
yes,
right?
yeah.
The Firefly thing.
Yeah, the Firefly, and they've done it with other series apparently.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So that's how they end up killing series, right? And so it's the Fox syndrome.
Well, they want. I've now watched The Mummy, and they really want to turn this into a superhero franchise. No. Look at Legendary. Look what they're doing with the monsters. Keep the monsters monsters. I'm like, oh, we got to start with the secret organization run by Dr. Jekyll. Oh, fuck you. I am so. I just kept getting angrier and angrier watching that movie.
Universal. Just what
So
are you doing?
we're gonna help you because that's what we do. You need the help.
Yes.
Before we get there, I got some stats for you.
Ooh.
Because we have, not including the retrospectives, because I can't count what each of us watched during those times, like the Wes Craven episode or the fantasy episode or whatever, when we did the Sharks
Oh, for
episode.
sure.
So I don't count those, but we have watched 163 movies for this podcast.
Nice.
A lot of freaking movies.
163 movies thus far. It got bumped up considerably for the 31 Days of Horror. But, if you include what we watched for those retrospectives, we're over 200. For sure.
Absolutely.
Per person.
Easily.
Yeah.
Wow. Look at us go.
That's right.
Not all these movies were good movies. So bear in mind that we do suffer for our art sometimes.
Yes, and let me tell you how much time we've put into this. We have put just the podcast itself is 9,985 minutes of podcast,
Wow.
which equates to 166.42 hours. Otherwise, almost 7 days. We've given a week of our lives just recording the podcast. And that's just in the physical runtime, so it's even longer for us. And then you think of my editing time on top of it all. I'm in for about a month now.
Probably about that, yeah.
Easily. But I will say, recording these, time well spent. I will spend another week doing that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to wasting another week.
It's not wasted. It's very important work we're doing here.
It took 2 years to make that, so I've only lost a week out of 2 years. That's not bad.
More people waste that commuting in like 6 months.
Exactly.
So.
Now, in the amount of time we've spent watching the movies is 13,897 minutes. Otherwise, 231.45 hours. Or 9.64 days just watching the movies for this show.
So over half a month recording and watching.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So don't say we don't suffer for you. We do this out of the kindness of our hearts. Advertisement free so far.
We do this for all of you guys.
So we really hope you enjoy it. Now that you know what we've gone through, please leave us those 5-star ratings and reviews.
And share it with your damn friends.
Yeah, and you know, you guys are spending that kind of time listening to us too, so thank you very much. And this has been a record month for us as well, so it's a really great way to bring in our 100th episode and next week's 2-year anniversary.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. I'd like to do a flow chart at some point of the actors and stuff and how many have shown up, but that was a lot of work just to put that together.
I can imagine. That was like going, that's math. Fuck that.
Yeah.
It's easy. I just added up the minutes, and then I mean, you still got to write down each one
Each
and
movie's
figure it out,
minutes
each movie's minutes. And then once I had my total of that, I went into the computer minutes to hours, hours to minutes. The rest came a lot easier. I'm going to let something else do the math.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's research first, just finding all the runtimes and all that stuff,
Well, maybe I could do some research, find out who the person who shows up the most.
Because we have had quite a few, but that's going to take a lot more effort. So maybe we'll try to have some of that for you next week. I don't know.
We can maybe do a nice graphic for you.
Oh, yes, an infographic on a audio podcast is going to go over really well.
Well, no, it'll be on Facebook.
We could totally put that on Facebook.
Yeah.
Or Twitter.
Twitter?
Tweet it, face it, and so we don't have an Instagram, so whatever. It's an audio podcast. What am I going to put on there? I guess maybe I can put it up because
just continuous microphones.
I've been doing the teaser images now, and so maybe if you guys want to see an Instagram, let me know. We can maybe do the Instagram. I can make that happen.
Exactly.
It's one more social media thing. Ugh.
There's a lot to keep track of.
But I love my fan base.
Yeah.
I'm not a social media guy.
Spend so much time watching movies. I like to spend the rest of it in 3D with real life people.
Speaking of, Creature of the Black Lagoon was originally presented in 3D.
Yes.
And you can tell when you're watching it. It was,
in 1954. It's, it's not as much of the jutting into cameras as you might think.
Mm-hmm.
No, most of it's very subtle. I think it was most noticeable at the very beginning of the movie is when I noticed sort of the 3D effect, the coming at you effect. Mm-hmm. The rest all seemed like it was just designed to give it texture and depth.
Yeah, so for you youngins who think the 3D is a recent thing, no. And now that you know it's old, let's make it go away.
Yeah.
Because I hate it.
Yeah.
Unless it's Avatar, then it's fine because it's the only entertaining thing about Avatar.
Yeah. Or unless it's done really well. As I still contend, Harold and Kumar Save Christmas, best use
Fair
of
enough.
3D.
I remember seeing My Bloody Valentine, which we've covered on the show, the remake, in the theater, and remember really hating the movie, but loving the 3D. Mm-hmm. I felt like that jaw was going to hit me in the head.
Yeah, if done well, it's
which
wonderful.
is really disgusting.
Yeah.
But fun at the same time.
That's right. Did I get blood on me?
Yeah, I know. That's kind of your body actually thinks you got wet.
Yeah. So, I mean, when done well, 3D's pretty awesome. And I think they've kind of got it down now. I don't know.
It's getting better.
These days, they offer it to me in 3D and non-3D, and I'm like, well, your mistake. I'm going to the non.
Yeah, unless, of course, I have no option but the regular 3D.
Right.
Then I'll go watch it then.
Yeah. because I'm a glass wearer. So I got my glasses on, and now I got to put another set of glasses on top of that. Come on, bring me in the glassless 3D technology that is out there. It's getting better, but I'm guessing it's still expensive. But I want that 3D technology that doesn't require me wearing goggles of some sort.
Yeah, because wearing two pairs of glasses at the same time is really, really uncomfortable.
It is uncomfortable and disconcerting.
It's bad.
You start fogging up.
And it hurts. Like, because the bridge of your nose hurts, the back of your ears hurt.
Yep.
Yeah. People who don't wear glasses do not understand.
Or get me polarized clip-ons.
Yep.
That would be the other option. That would be a good option. Yeah.
Right. Polarized clip-on. I like that idea.
Like just a little headband you wear that just flips down.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to like scoop up a few and then make my own.
There we go.
There you go.
Yeah, we'll patent it to be like, just sell it to the theaters. Like, these are for glasses people.
That's right. I'll just stand there as people are coming in. I'm like, do you have glasses, sir? Put those pieces of shit back. Let me give you these.
Here are these.
You'll enjoy the experience far, far more.
That's right. Okay, Creature from the Black Lagoon, 1954, based on an idea by William Alland, who was the producer of this film, and he was an actor in Citizen Kane.
For sure.
He's got some street cred.
He was the faceless reporter.
He was. And the story was by Maurice Zim, the screenplay Arthur A. Ross, and Harry Essex. I never did find a budget for this thing, but it grossed $1.3 million in 1954. So I meant to do the math. I didn't. I'm sorry. I was doing other math.
Yes.
I got tired of math.
We do know that's significant.
It's significant. It is significant, especially for a huge hit. I mean, they call this a sci-fi film. It's a throwback to the Universal monsters of, a decade earlier or more.
It's kind of a crossover. It's a horror sci-fi, right? I mean, it does have that science fiction element to it. And it's funny, they considered this a failure even at 1.3 million.
Really?
Yes, because
so they made two more.
Yes, but apparently, because not a failure, but the 3D version did not do well. It's when the theaters that had the 2D version were the ones that seemed to.
Well, the thing with the 3D, and it was kind of the first time they'd ever done underwater 3D. Of
this
is
groundbreaking.
Yeah, so this is a big deal, and you got to think about it. You're setting it. You have two projectors that have to stay perfectly in sync in 1954 with the red and blue polarizations, and they have to stay perfectly in sync. And if they're just slightly out of sync, then you get this weird ghosting effect.
Yep.
And if you have a projectionist who doesn't give a shit, it's not going to be a fun experience.
No.
And I'm sure that happened. And then you walk out, you blame the 3D. We've done it, and we have much better cameras these days. And when they do some shitty post-conversion thing, like Clash of the Titans.
Oh, yeah. Or
the Avatar movie, not James Cameron's, but the one based on the cartoon.
Oh, okay,
yes. The Shyamalan one.
M. Night Shyamalan movie. What was it called? The Last
Airbender. The Last Airbender.
Last Airbender. And that was just god-awful. It darkened up the footage. It was just so bad and so hard to watch. And you blame the 3D. It could be a projectionist issue. But in the end, the studio's going to take the hit on it. Take all the blame.
Yeah. And this was one of the last 3D movies of that sort of iteration of three-dimensional or 3D movies in the theaters. They were at the tail end of it, so they were trying to capitalize on that one last time before.
When they were filming,
they did try to revive it.
Down.
Yeah, they did try to revive it with Revenge of the Creature, and it didn't work.
It's always going to seem like a novelty until they have it so that you feel like you're immersed in it. Right? People get tired of it after a while. It's like, I'm tired of stuff flying at me in this whenever I'm in a movie theater, and it's just not effective. Or as you mentioned, you've got the projectionist who doesn't care, or you've got crappy post.
And you're talking the gimmick era too, especially with the guys like William Castle getting in there, doing anything they can to attract an audience. Well, 3D's not cutting it. Let's have something blowing from under the seats and tickling your ankle.
Smell-o-vision.
Yeah, smell-o-vision or the vibrating seats, and they brought that back now.
Yeah.
Like, we're now living back in the William Castle era of film, and I don't want to sit in those motion seats, and that just sounds awful.
Yeah, like I want to be immersed in it. I think it's sort of where 3D falls down the most is when you get those hacky shoehorn bits where they purposely put something in to make it fly out at you. It's not organic to the story, so it seems weird and jarring when it happens. and that's a huge problem.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like if I want somebody reaching out for me and I can see the hand, that would be nice.
Yeah.
Especially if
Gentle.
it falls sort of naturally into the flow of the story and stuff like that. Yeah, and that was what Jay was talking about. There are times where the 3D works really well, but unfortunately, it's few and far between.
Okay, well, this movie starred Richard Carlson, Julie Adams, Richard Denning, Antonio Moreno, Nestor Peva, Whit Bissell, and Bernie Gozier. There's a couple other guys in there too. And I'm going to definitely mention Rico Browning because he was the Gilman in The Water. Because he's not in the IMDb credits, but he played the Gilman in Under the Water, and Ben Chapman was the above water guy. He was a really tall guy, so
6'5" or something.
Yeah, he really got to do the creature stuff above land. So, yeah, Chapman was the guy touring them around sites in Florida to shoot in, and they just liked his swimming style, so they offered him that part.
Yeah, and then Rico was just really good at it. He was also able to stay underwater a long period of time.
4 minutes at a time.
4 minutes at a time, and then he was able to do...
Because they didn't want air bubbles to be seen.
And
Totally respect that.
absolutely.
Yeah, they ditched that in the next ones.
I did. I read that as well. Yeah, but you watched them, but I did read that. Yeah, they didn't bother trying for authenticity.
Yeah.
Well, he was able to also do the technique that you kind of learn when you're scuba diving for if your regulator's stuck on, and it's just leaking air, and you kind of suck on it like you would like a garden hose, but you're sucking air rather than water, and you can breathe that way. It doesn't last very long, and it's not good, but you can do it. But he was very good at that, so he could do that between other divers as well as like somebody with an actual regulator if he actually needed it.
Yeah, and I think he
Talented
played the
guy.
creature underwater in all 3 movies.
And those underwater scenes where the creature is sort of swimming with her, those are very good images. Like I really love the
it
idea
looks
of it.
stellar. Like I was really, really pleasant surprised because I had not seen this movie before. I was never a Universal Monsters watcher. We've talked about this before, how I'm not a big fan of older films, or haven't been until I started doing this podcast. Because now I actually look forward to watching these ones.
Well, and you watch them with different eyes, and you're also watching them with new ideas in mind for these remake episodes.
But I was really impressed by how good this movie looks. Even now, it still looks really good. I mean, there's some things like, the Gilman's eyes were completely non-existent. They were just shadows.
They look better in this movie than they do in the sequels. The sequels, they change the eyes, and they look like ping pong balls with holes in them.
Yeah.
So they definitely look...
Yeah,
the
that's
fact
not good.
that you can't see his eyes in this one actually looks better.
Well, and I don't doubt that, but I mean...
I mean, they couldn't see through these masks barely at all.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can truly imagine. But like I said, as far as the just the overall look, and I mean, even now that costume doesn't look that dated, aside from the rigidity of the mask.
Yeah. In fact, Julie Adams, she got injured near the end when she's being carried into the cave through that cavern wall. Yeah. And now you got an actor in the Gilman suit who can barely see out of it, and she's got to pretend to be unconscious, so her eyes are closed too. So she got banged, her head got banged on the entranceway, and rumor has she fell unconscious, but that was just rumor and innuendo.
And they had to look at it. But apparently there's a wonderful photo that they had where it's...
I've seen it.
I haven't seen it. I want to see it, where it's the 2 guys and like a really concerned creature when she's getting looked at.
Yeah, they've got a Band-Aid over her head, and and he's bent over, look really concerned in his Gilman outfit. It is great. It was in the documentary I watched that's on my disc. So yes, I do own this, and I have for several years. But oddly enough, I'd never seen the other 2 movies, so I took the opportunity to watch the other ones as well.
Nice. And as you tell us, they've gone insane. It was good.
Oh, yeah, I will tell you. But I'm going to run the trailer for the first one here, and we'll get more into this, and I will definitely tell a little bit about revenge and Creature Walks Among Us as well, because they are quite something as well. And maybe that will inform some of our ideas for the remake.
I think so.
Up from the depths of the mighty Amazon comes a creature to astound and terrorize the world. Creature from the Black Lagoon. Shocking in the realism of the screen's first underwater 3-dimension thrill.
Sounds incredible, but it appeared to be human. I tell you, it's the greatest find yet. Nothing compares to it.
Grimly, men of daring venture into a dread world underwater, stalking a creature of frightening fury, a creature stirred to strange emotions by its first sight of a woman. You'll see the most amazing underwater photography that the screen has ever known in this strangest of all science fiction adventures. Creature from the Black Lagoon, starring Richard Carlson and Julia Adams, even more amazing in 3 dimensions.
That was a short one, but, you know, these old movies, they got some great voiceover and a lot of music, and so I thought I'd play the one with the tightest voiceover stuff, because I love that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I say that every time we play one of these old movies, and I'm going
And
to
he
keep
will every
saying
time after, too.
Yes,
Yeah.
I will. Absolutely.
And that's okay. That's what we want.
Yeah. Now, the basic idea behind these is man encroaching on the creature's territory.
Yeah. The
And-
creature's just being the creature.
Yeah, the creatures, it's probably the apex predator in its area, in that lagoon region
Absolutely.
in the Amazon, in Brazil.
Yeah, I wish they're talking about like giant 9-foot catfish.
Yeah, they talk about a lot of things we never get to see.
Which would have been really cool.
But, I mean, given the time and the budgetary, restraints, I mean, they weren't actually in the Amazon.
No.
So they were in Florida and then the Universal backlot.
Yep.
There's only so much you can do, but the fact that they gave me some stock footage of an alligator was the most life I think I could ever hope for in this movie outside of the actors. Because they do most of it in the sound design, because it really does feel like a pretty lifeless forest.
It really does seem kind of lifeless. You're absolutely right. And this is kind of typical of the older movies, and I think this may be why I didn't like them when I was younger, is they didn't have the special effects, they didn't have the budgets to add a lot of these things, and so they tried very hard to rely on telling you and sort of kind of getting into your head psychologically to sort of impress upon you that how dangerous this area was and stuff like that. They didn't give you any visual clues. It was all through dialogue. And as a younger person, I don't think I got that the way I do now. It still doesn't really affect me because I mean, in this day and age, we're kind of past that psychological well, not past it, but it's done so much better now than it was back then.
Oh, for sure.
Right? So yeah, it doesn't really affect me, but I can see what they're trying to do.
But some creature in the water, I mean, that still works. I don't know. For me,
it totally works. Yeah, and visually, like I said, and the fact that they didn't waste any time showing you at least sort of hinting at him, I really like that. I mean, they find the fossilized hand, and then immediately after, you're seeing his hand coming up out of the water, clawing at the bank. It was cheesy, but it was cool.
Yeah, no, that's kind of what they did back then. Give you some interesting visuals, but they do come off a bit cheesy at times.
Yeah.
But it was probably freaking awesome in 1954.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah. A lot of the stuff that was effective in 1954, it was new. It was all going to be new. And I think, I guess one of the original sort of ideas of it, he was going to be hinted at, and the creature wouldn't show up till like about halfway through the film. But they spent so much money on the costume, they're like, we gotta make it worth our while.
Yeah, and the costume does look good, and that's one of those things that going into Remake, I wouldn't adjust the visuals too much.
I'd put more life in the face, and that's about it.
Yeah. Like this was designed by Millicent Patrick. She did all the sketches for the creature, the initial designs, despite not getting the proper credit for it.
Yeah, by some other guy he took credit for lots of other people's work too. So
yeah, this dude was known for it, and this is the 50s where man's world bullshit.
Yeah, and like the thing is, he kept blaming her, and she at every point had said that, okay, I work with this guy, and did everything she could, but this guy still blamed her. But the thing is, like, I think he was just jealous. She was very talented. She did a lot of stuff. She was one of the first animators for Disney.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, she's a legend nowadays, I would think, and very much remembered for these designs. And this is still like in 1954. This is the studio era. There was no casting calls. These actors were assigned to this movie. This is the movie you're doing next.
Yep.
Yeah.
No agents saying you can refuse this or you can hold out for more money. It was, this is part of your contract. You got to do it.
Yeah. They do it, or we'll find somebody else
like
to do
a
it. You don't get a
regular
job. You don't get to work.
Yep.
Yeah, regular job. You're sent on the road. We're sending you here to do this job. That's the way it works.
Yeah.
Like every other job.
Yeah.
When it comes right down to it.
Remember when Hollywood was just a job?
It was just a job.
Hey, actors, if you listen to this, it's just a job.
Although, to be fair,
you get paid really well for doing your job.
It got real crazy in the fact that it was slightly different than every other job, and that there were morality clauses, and it was like it was real. They were really all up in your business.
Oh, for sure.
About
I mean,
who you could marry, who you could hang out with. Like, they were really into it.
Yeah, it's a very public image, and I get it. especially in the day and age where we've had all sorts of misbehavior from our celebrities. So it seems
We
to be
still do.
daily.
It's just it's a lot more public.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, with internet and stuff.
What was that Hail Caesar, that Coen Brothers movie? That was the whole purpose of that movie, is this guy was a quote-unquote fixer who would deal with stuff for celebrities. Very, very dodgy crap. Keep it out of the papers.
Yeah.
LA Confidential, based on that, too.
Yeah, that movie was great. I haven't seen Hail Caesar, but I want to.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's Coen Brothers, of course it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course
It's not the apex of their powers, but it's still pretty good.
Well, not everyone's is a masterpiece, but they're always enjoyable. Even their version of Lady Killers wasn't that bad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Different
Those-
movie. Sorry.
Okay. Anyway, back to this one
Back to Rat.
with the studio. But yeah, Millicent Patrick, she's just an amazing career. Like, she started off as a baroness?
Baroness.
Something,
My
that's
God.
what they said.
How do you even become a baron or a baroness?
You're born into it.
I think
It's a
you're
title.
born into it.
Was she
in
part of
Italy.
Cobra?
Maybe. Oh my God, maybe. She's the basis for that character. Who knows?
And that would explain why she was never getting credit for her designs, because Cobra Commander was taking credit.
Yeah, that's who he was. Bastard.
I get it now. I totally
We
get it.
figured
now.
it out. I don't know. I just heard this on the commentary. We'll find out. I don't know. I didn't do that much research. I heard it from the guy on the commentary. That's all I know.
Damn you, Snake Eyes.
Well, commentary is a better resource than the internet.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
I didn't get to listen to the commentary on the film, but I did get to watch the special features afterwards.
Nice. Yeah, I missed a documentary, but I want to watch that, so we'll
Yeah.
trade.
Now, this is one of those movies that's up for a reboot, I guess I'll call it, within the Universal Dark Universe.
and that's what scares me is
Right?
if they're
Yeah.
rebooting it, not remaking it. Right? If it was a reboot / remake, like where they were taking basically the same story and updating it to reboot the Universal monsters and maybe adding a little bit new to it to tie it together with the rest of the universe without changing it too much, then yeah, I buy that. But when you start to say reboot, to me, that means you're making a whole cloth modification to it and basically just keeping the
Well, they got to weave it
Chronological
into
idea.
this weird universe that they've established in The Mummy, and maybe that might not be the best way to go, given that I've seen The Mummy, and that
Well-
was a thing.
Here's the thing. Of all the creatures to add to a universe, this seems probably the worst option to do it, because the whole point of the creature is it's been in the middle of nowhere by itself for so long. Its isolation was what made it stay alive this long.
Yeah, well, apparently they want to keep it in the Amazon, so at least that gives me some hope that they're maybe going for more of a remake approach to it, weaving in some... And I can see where you could weave in certain ideas as they discover what I would call a cryptozoologist's dream.
Yeah.
You know, if you bump it up a few years and take it out of the 50s, I'd still maybe put it in the past a little bit, so this stupid organization that Jekyll started is still in its infancy, maybe.
Yeah, I think that would probably be best. I wouldn't take it fully into modern times at all.
if you're following that model. Yeah,
I was thinking maybe 70s, 80s at the
I do
latest.
80s for sure, because I want that hair in this movie.
we may be all going different directions, but because I was.
We got lots of
lots
of opportunities to voice which directions we want to go. So
Yeah, I'm thinking 80s might work for me, but we'll talk about that when we get to that part.
sure,
Yeah.
sure. Well, we can weave it in as we go because we always do.
For sure, because I don't know, to me, part of the danger is the isolation that they're in this place and they can't contact anybody, which 80s makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Now the movie opens with them finding a fossilized arm of one of these Gilman. Mm-hmm. I really hope they come up with a better term than Gilman, but
Yeah. I
it
just
was
said
the
creature.
50s. It's the 50s. That's what they do. I actually just like it being called creature,
The creature.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll come up with some zoological term or something when they discover it.
Yeah. Well, and then I rewatching this, I remember watching this as a kid, and it really brought me back. I'm like, yes, I do remember feeling this bad for the creature the entire time.
I feel, you do. You feel feel bad for the creature all the way through because he's clearly lonely, right? 'Cause
I actually don't have a lot of empathy for him as much as I do with some of the other monsters, to be honest. But yeah, he's solitary, and that's something I would change because they keep finding new creatures as the sequels move on. So he's
Yeah.
obviously not, but you don't know how long this creature's been around, and maybe it's been isolated in this lagoon area. So
cut
maybe
off from the rest
Yeah.
of its species.
Of its kind.
Yeah.
It's a perfect place. Like it's got food. It's got like shelter. It's secure there because nobody ever goes, really.
Yeah, and it's very protective of its environment as well, which is why it does go after the interlopers that are doing this dig initially, and then later on the crew that go on the expedition that is funded by Richard Denning's character Mark Williams, who's also kind of the bad guy in this movie because he's not super altruistic about
it's all about fame and making and profiting off this adventure.
Yeah,
he's
of
flipping Richard Branson, Elon Musk guy.
Yeah. And David and Kay are the marine biologists.
Yeah,
they're the ones that are just wanting to observe this creature in its habitat
and this
and find it in general. See, they're mainly looking for the fossil. They're not expecting to find a live one
for sure. And thinking about this model, this dynamic has been copied again and again, kind of after this one, where the scientist is the hero, doesn't really want to hurt the creature, and you always have like that the funding, the money guy who's causing trouble. And that's been in, a ton of movies.
Yeah, and the formula kind of follows through the other two as well. You know, you got the creature who's fascinated with the female, the pretty girl, and there's only usually ever one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but there's only ever one. I guess it keeps his eye on the prize that way.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And it's, and that's one of the things that does bug me about this movie is his fascination with the female character. It feels... I understand it, but it doesn't feel like it would feel quite right either.
No.
Because you can tell he doesn't have a female of his own species nearby.
Yeah.
Right? So,
but you wouldn't think that would be an attraction, but then again, if it's more of instinctual wanting to...
Well, to me, it was weird. When I look at the creature, and this is probably just me putting my own narrative on it that I saw when I was a kid, is like, A, the creature's lonely, and B... these two men that this creature has seen this woman with have a shot at it, tried to drug it, tried to catch it, tried to mess with it. So I think maybe the creature says like, oh my God, she's with these dangerous men. Maybe she's been captured.
And he's trying to rescue her.
I will rescue her.
Yeah, he's fairly intelligent. I mean, he's not talking or anything, but...
From his perspective, she's in danger.
Yeah, it's reactive. The subsequent films certainly back up that premise because there are times when he just leaves her alone. He's certainly curious.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's a case
scene where he's reaching out to touch her. I love that.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a case of, he wants to mate with another species because it's not something he'd be attracted to, but he's certainly fascinated with her.
It's a yearning of loneliness. She seems to be the one that doesn't pose, she doesn't mean him any harm.
Yeah, there's a peacefulness to it.
Yeah, and so he wants to know.
Yeah, but it seems the way that it was handled in the movie was at first seemed very kind of curious and stuff like that, but then it kind of got a little ham-handed.
Yes,
at the end there with him stealing her and taking her away. I like your thoughts on it about it being sort of to protect her.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's the case of protecting her more than wanting to mate with her. I mean, you can certainly misconstrue it, but I'd agree with that as well.
Yeah, it's just a matter of making it feel a little less ham-handed, so to eliminate that creepiness of the interspecies mating thing that's really wouldn't I don't think would happen regardless of curiosity.
Yeah, and I this is something I'd maybe like to see in the remake is the original version was more smoother form to look more eel-like.
Yeah.
And then they went with this one.
It's supposed to have more realistic facial features.
And they thought about maybe making this the female of the species down the line, which they never wound up doing. But maybe they took some of those aspects with when the creature walks among us. What happens is they burn the creature. The creature actually accidentally burns itself, technically. He dumps gasoline on itself as he's tossing the can at these guys, and then they light it up. And turns out he's burnt off his scales and stuff, but there's a human layer of skin underneath. Like, this species has got all sorts of redundancies, so if he can no longer breathe with his gills, he actually has a set of proper lungs underneath those fish ones.
Yeah.
So it's a interesting
take.
Yeah, it's an interesting take, and it is the point of a lot of these movies is to study this gap in evolution between when we crawled out of the goo and the muck into what we are now, and finding those missing links.
Yeah, and they certainly do that very well at the beginning of the movie with that the dialogue. And
that great speech from David.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll run that at the end of the show because it's great. I'm like, wow, this is like a Shakespearean soliloquy in this movie.
Yes, and I
out the
really
gate.
enjoyed it. I
It really was.
And again, as a novice viewer to it, I'm like, okay, so far I'm liking that. Like I like that it sets up that premise of evolution and so on. And
and I love that Mark, the finance guy, is like, well, nice speech, David.
Yeah. Oh, I love
And
that.
it was a nice speech. I got up out of my chair and went.
Mark. Poor jealous Mark.
yes, I'm
plays
pretty
in
out of
all-
money, but I'm not very smart.
It does play a lot in these movies. In that third one, when the creature can't go back in the water.
Oh.
Poor guy. They kind of have him caged up with some sheep. He kills a mountain lion that's going to eat the sheep, so he's very peaceful for the most part.
Protective.
But there's the romantic, the gorgeous girl again that he's kind of fascinated with.
Yeah.
For the most part, has a shitheel husband, and there's another guy who's trying to woo her, but he's just some slimy guy who's trying to like, hey, go ahead, cheat on him. He doesn't like you that much.
Oh my god.
So the jealous husband was going to kick this guy out and eventually actually winds up killing him and then framing the creature for it. And the creature's all riled up that he just saw this guy kill this other guy and he doesn't like either one of them. So he escapes and he's trying to rescue her to get her out of this fucking nonsense.
man.
which certainly goes back to that whole thing we were talking about earlier, and it feeds it much better.
Yeah. I mean, initially I'm like, I don't know if I want to watch this one because I'd watched a documentary first and I saw some of this and I'm like, this just looks insane. And it was.
It sounds super insane.
In a fun way.
Yeah. I do like the simplicity of this first one.
Oh yeah, it's very clear story.
It is a very clear story. Yeah, it's and I mean, again, I was talking about how 50s movies tend to rely very heavily on dialogue. This one does that as well. There's a lot of sort of slow dialogue-driven moments throughout the whole movie, and then you have these beautiful scenes of them swimming under the water, but there's not a lot of action per se.
Yeah, but I have to say, any action that's in there
Serves a purpose.
And I just wanted to say, every time I was watching this, I'm like, this is 1,000 times better than Thunderball.
Hey, don't disparage Bond.
But the underwater scenes in Thunderball compared to this,
Okay,
honestly,
fine.
I'm like, if I'm just comparing the underwater scenes.
Yeah, for a lot being just shot in a tank and stuff, they do a pretty good job with the set dressing on it, which I really enjoyed. I mean, it still doesn't seem like there's a lot of life under there, but at least the seaweed and stuff when when it keeps going to hide underneath and in the brush under the water and by logs and things that are falling. I mean, a lot of that looks really good.
Yeah. Well, you're kind
Just
of
needs
stuck.
more life.
Yeah.
in the
Yeah,
tank.
you're sort of stuck. It's sort of the thing is you need to either put all the fish life, the marine life in there, but then it's like it's hard to control your shots. But it adds more life, but it's sort of
In Revenge,
it's hard to wrangle.
In Revenge, they stick the creature in this tank in Marineland, but the tank's full of fish and sharks.
Nice.
And, like, all these things are actually in the shots, and they just made sure everything was well fed before they shot.
Yeah.
So, in hindsight, probably not the smartest idea, but everybody came out fine, so I guess it's okay.
Well, if you've been to a lot of the marine places, you'll see tanks that have sharks in them and other marine life, and everything's usually fine.
Oh, well, I'm more worried about the actors per se. It's probably
Yeah.
not the wisest
Yeah,
choice, but then none of the things ever bugged them.
Sharks
You can
are-
see some of the sharks get kind of close at times, but
They'll nudge you to find out
They're
what you
curious
are.
animals, but they're not.
They're curious, but they're not stupid.
yeah. So it was kind of interesting to watch. I'm like, oh fuck, they're really in there.
Yeah, like sharks, they get a bad rap, but it's sort of they're reticent sometimes if they're not sure what that is.
Well, Jaws gave them a bad rap,
for sure.
but you can hear more about our Shark Talk in our Shark Week
Yes.
episode. Go back and listen to our Shark episode. It was really cool. It was
Yes.
fun.
Oh, it was
I
great.
think we're going to do another similar one, but with spiders next.
Oh my
As
god.
we're recording this, tomorrow is the start of Shark Week.
Shark Week. Oh yes, I'm. I think, and it's also Sharknado Week on Sci-Fi. So
nice.
they got a bunch
four?
of. Well, no, what they're doing is they've got a bunch of shark themed stuff, and then it's going to end with the premiere of the next Sharknado.
Is this
At
5?
the end of the. I've lost count. I think so. I think it is 5.
I got to 3. Couldn't do any more.
Yeah. Well, again, listen to that episode. I got through all of the ones that they had done.
He
so
did it.
I'm very much looking forward to doing this. And I stayed off that bandwagon for quite some time.
You did, but when you got on that wagon, you rode it hard.
I did. They opened this week with 5-headed shark. And first thing I thought of was, well, what happened to 4-headed shark? Last one I saw was 3-headed shark.
Well,
it's going to look like a fucking starfish.
I remember way back to 2-headed shark, so I don't know what happened there.
Never saw that one, but so they got a bunch of shark stuff this week, and by the time you hear it, it'll be over. So
Yes, yeah, but it tied in because I'm like, oh, it's Shark Week.
Nice.
Yeah. So go listen to that episode. It's fun. But we're going to talk some more about the creature here.
It's already a natural progression because we're underwater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
what else is with this
And the
creature?
shark movies do
And we want-
inform my sort of thoughts on my remake. So
Nice. Good. And I want more life in the water here as well. And what we
Yeah.
know of the Amazon.
There should be tons.
Yeah, we should see lots of life. And, this expedition should be a little more arduous even as they're going down the Amazon. I want to see hippos. And, when they hit the land, I want to see
Jaguars
the big
Piranha.
cats and piranha and giant fucking banana spiders and
yeah. And
Monkeys.
these big catfish I'm talking about. I want to see the 9-foot catfish.
yeah. I mean, that should be in one of these movies.
Exactly.
So,
Water snakes.
and we've seen how good they can do that now without actually having to do it, because we've seen Peter Jackson's King Kong and these. It's a lot safer to do now if you just CGI it all, but it's also lazy.
Well, you can CGI the dangerous fish, and in the tank have the pretty non-dangerous fish.
Yeah, and if this is an isolated area, it can be a little exaggerated too. Like you can have
That Kong-ass giant creature kind of thing.
And in the Amazon, it's not uncommon for meter-long centipedes and things like that. So big insects will really freak you out.
Well, and in the Amazon, the whole thing is there's probably a ton of stuff there that hasn't even been found yet.
Yeah.
So you could just introduce some crazy stuff that people didn't know about.
No, you should create an entire ecosystem there.
Just kind of Kong-esque.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
where maybe not to the extent of Kong.
Oh,
but,
yeah, no.
but certainly, take some of that sort of general idea and create, a whole new world.
Yeah, and I don't. Yeah, and I don't think I would ever take this thing out of its environment. At least not the first go round.
No.
But
No, and certainly I wouldn't go that direction either. It does need to take place in his environment.
now,
Yeah.
the terrible remake idea that I see Universal doing, so don't do this because I'm going to out you right now. This is not based on anything that exists, but I can see Universal, based on what they've done, they're going to kidnap one of these things, children, and make it do what it wants to do as one of their soldiers.
Yeah,
in
that's
this
a
dark
no.
aspect. Please don't do that. I don't want Monster Squad Avengers. No, fuck off.
No.
That's not the movie I want to see.
No, it's been done. It's
Yeah.
being done by Avengers. We want to see, as movie fans, we want to see these monsters in a modern light, but keeping all of those classic sensibilities.
Yeah,
Well-
the expedition should be more of a cryptozoological expedition to discover something that's legendary.
When you're talking about this creature working for the government, it was already done in Hellboy with one.
Yeah, exactly. So you've already got Abe Sapien, the smart one that's working for a secret organization. So we don't need it again.
No.
And I'll admit, when I was watching this movie, I couldn't help but think of Abe Sapien. To be honest, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, Mignola
you tell he's
did
clearly
that
modeled
because
after the creature.
Mignola loves it, obviously, and Abe Sapien's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But we've got him, so we don't need another one.
Yeah. I mean, you could say that he might be like a very far relative of Abe Sapien, but that's it. Mm-hmm. That's all you need.
Yeah, and if that's the route they're going, we don't need the secret organization because it's already been done over in Hellboy.
Exactly.
So,
But he should be in his environment. I do want him to get away at the end.
hey, it's not the 50s anymore where the monster must die.
No.
Well, that was one of those dictates that happened even in the late 30s that all movie monsters must die. And they used the same ending sequence in Revenge that bugged me.
Oh, really?
Where it gets shot and then just drifts down into
Oh,
the dark.
man. Well, that was the thing. There was 2 endings that they had written, and one was where they took the creature back, which they're probably obviously Universal wants to do. And then there's the other one where they commit to it actually being dead. So this one where it was left open was something that was kind of added a little bit later.
Yeah, because they did, by that point in time, they were thinking sequels and something that makes a little more sense rather than trying to constantly revive it from the dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it does work. It could, because there is that question: did he die, or is he just?
He's not Jason.
Yeah,
And like he's underwater, he can breathe. He's just a little injured. He might.
and he
just be
seems to
very
recover from injuries quite quickly. I mean, that's something we have to address because he gets shot with a spear gun twice.
Yeah, he's very strong. Seems to be somewhat resistant to bullets.
Well, he does have like armor
See,
plating. To
yeah.
a certain
That's what I was
extent, right?
thinking. Like I didn't think so much
But
that what he
the
had
bullets
was
did
gills,
take him down.
but was a very, very thick, tough skin that was hard to penetrate.
Yeah, and they kept equating him to
Like crocodile skin.
a fish. And in fact, the earlier comparison was to the lungfish. I'm thinking because he does look very lizard-like.
Yeah,
With some fish aspects. I love the opening and closing of the mouth, like a fish gasping for air when it comes out of the water. I really
do
like
like
that. Yeah.
Yeah, but as far as the actual look, he looked more crocodilian than fish-like, except for his head.
Yeah,
and
his
they
face
certainly
was froggy.
They certainly give us that image. It's one of the few life forms we see is the alligator going into the water. So, which was obvious stock footage, but
But it worked.
yeah.
But yeah, like if he has that hard kind of that very hard skin like a crocodile, it really does talk to like how he survived so long in that environment.
Yeah, and why the spears don't harm him more substantially, right? And the bullets take more. They have to be at closer range before they actually do any real damage to him, right? They hurt, but they're not deep enough to penetrate through his epidermis and into vital organs.
Yeah, no, I think
I did that epidermis. No.
Yeah.
and it supports some of the science they talk about in there too, where he's halted evolution, where he's just basically remained the same. The species remained the same for millions of years
Because it doesn't need to evolve.
No.
and imagine if it had. It
Found its
certainly
perfect
humans
spot.
certainly wouldn't be the key
Nope.
species anymore, and that could be something explored as well in a remake.
See, that would be amazing because maybe it could be the whole thing where the humans are like, wow, this would be the ultimate step because you can be in water and you can be on land. Like, imagine how amazing that would be.
Right?
Yeah, no, it would. That's.
I mean, we're gene splicing now,
Ooh,
and
that could be part of the whole thing where they want to find him. Is they're like, if we could figure this out, like we could have humans who could be underwater.
You could start getting into like they're thinking, especially with your money guy being like, well, the military applications for this.
Exactly.
Right? And I mean, when I was watching it, those are the kinds of things I was thinking too. Is okay, well, how would it play in a more modern world, right? I mean, because things have changed a lot since the 50s, right? So yeah, I think that's one of the things you want to bring in is sort of how our money guy is going to monetize what he's finding.
yeah, if he's thinking, one scientist is just thinking about the find and the species,
The
and
knowledge we're getting from
the knowledge
this.
of that, and the other guy's thinking biological weapon.
Yep.
Yeah,
Which then that's the whole conflict. The other person's like, no, study,
yeah.
observe.
Now, you go into that dark universe thing again in Jekyll's organization. If they're the good guys, then you're trying to keep this other guy from doing this.
Yeah.
So maybe these other two that are keeping, they're constantly arguing with the financier could be recruited at some point, and they'd be the recruits, not the creature. That would be the
Possibly.
smarter way to go. If you
It would keep the integrity of the original film without, but still tied into this new universe that they're trying to create with Jekyll's organization, right?
Yeah.
Or I mean, you could have this the guy who's the money guy aware that there's an organization that was looking for stuff like this, right? But his moral compass is not headed in the same direction as Jekyll's, and that could create its own kind of conflict, right? And like you said, have his interactions with Jekyll lead Jekyll to recruit these scientists, right? So you kind of tie it all together, right? It's the money guy is the reason that he meets them, but Jekyll's like, no, you're an asshole.
Yeah.
But I like these two, so I'm going to talk to these guys because
Exactly.
they have the right idea, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Like the money guy was like, oh, if I can manipulate these people. And the thing is, he's probably also thinking, once these guys get what I need, I'll just eliminate all of them.
Yeah, and my casting kind of played to that actually very deliberately, which is good because I wanted him to be a very reprehensible kind of human being.
I got a strong guy who could be a strong villain and will still look good in the underwater scenes.
Oh, nice.
I had to think about that. I didn't want to.
I've kept a lot of the same. I went sort of a certain way with it, but there's gonna be an extra dynamic with the money guy.
I don't know especially with my money guy. I'm like, I had the actor. He was the first guy I cast.
Mine too,
because it came so easily.
See, my K was the first one I cast.
My first, but this cast this whole movie while I was watching it. It was like one of the easiest castings I've done, except for my David.
My David was really. I had a tough time, and I'm not sold on my David.
And actually, I knew I wanted for my David. I just couldn't remember the name of the actor. Yeah. So after the movie was over, I'm like, okay, who is he? Right?
And part of the problem was going into this too. I couldn't get that damn Tom Cruise Mummy movie out of my head. I'm like, because it was starting to. I'm like, well, okay, this is what they're doing. How do I fix it?
Yeah, see, I haven't seen that yet, and I'm not aware of how this universe fits together, so I just took this as a standalone.
Yeah, no, and that's smart. And that's what I think they should do. Like, there should be only these weak links that hang, and these movies should stand apart.
Well, I think it should be like that whole thing. It should be the Kevin Smith Mallrats universe, in that these other people exist and are talked about, but they don't have to interact.
Right.
Yeah. No, and that's the way the original universe worked to a certain extent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, did you hear about this thing they found on the Amazon? And that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Oh, there is a Creature Abbott and Costello episode. They did it for
before the movie.
Yes.
And it was on the television show, not the... Yeah, because by that point the movies had kind of fizzled out, but they had their TV series, and that's where they put the Creature on the TV show, and it was kind of redoing one of their old gags. It just replaced the ghost with the creature instead.
And it was Ben Chapman who did that one.
Yeah. But that was cool. I remember seeing that one as a kid. So.
Yeah, I didn't see that one. But
I love that they did it as a promo for the movie too.
Yeah,
right? It's like this a way to sort of introduce the creature.
Yeah,
I mean, it kind of gives away the reveal in the movie.
Yeah, and it's kind of amazing that this, despite a few attempts, has never actually been remade. Considering, out of all the Universal monsters, this one's has the most visible, iconic look. Like, it probably has more merchandise than any of the other guys. I mean, Dracula and Frankenstein, they're all identifiable, and have been done to death as well.
But they're not unique like the creature was.
No, because this was created, much like the Wolfman, I guess, was created from whole cloth. I guess at least the Wolfman had mythology and to pull from. This was created whole cloth for film. And, I mean, there were a lot of monster movies coming out in the 50s. But this one's certainly the one that resonated the most.
And you look upon it like it's a Julia... What's it? Julia
Adams.
Julia Adams. She didn't really star in many horror movies or creature features, but she's well known because of this one that she did. That's how iconic it was. And she was forever tied to it. Yeah,
and the simplicity, and just there's something about just watching that. Like, my favorite scene is that creature swimming underneath while she's swimming in the lagoon. So she's swimming on the surface, and the creature's mirroring her underneath.
Oh no, it's a great scene, and then when it tentatively reaching out to touch her, I love that scene. It was actually poignant watching that bit, and it was so incredibly well thought out.
Yeah, there is something to be said about that too, because I kept thinking back to Jaws, and especially on the poster,
treading water,
and there's just certain moments I'm like, oh, I wonder if that was a small homage to the Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Might be,
and it was another Universal film. So
well, and certainly I guarantee that Spielberg is certainly, like any smart filmmaker, probably in love with this film a little bit. So even intentionally or unintentionally, it certainly is an homage to it. I mean, most likely, knowing Spielberg, probably a deliberate homage to it.
Yeah, well, when we're talking about like how stark the lagoon is, actually in that scene where the creature is mirroring her underneath, that really works for it, because you don't see anything around. It looks like the only two creatures for anywhere. That's the only thing you see on the screen is just the two of them and the surface of the water, and that's it.
Yeah. There's a scene, a small line in the movie I really liked about when Mark was getting a little more aggressive about the find. And this might become a catchphrase of mine. And David says, Mark's ambitions are showing.
Yeah. I like that too.
Yeah. That was a good line. That was something I'd keep in the remake. Those little nods. It's such a great line.
What I'd also keep in the remake is there's one moment when I think Mark and Dan are away and Kay can't sleep, so she's up with Dr. Thompson, and they're having this conversation. And Dr. Thompson's like, he's like, you're worried about like what's happening between Mark and Dan. She's like, yes. He's like, you've done everything you need. You've repaid Mark 10 times over. Don't feel guilty about anything. Like he tells her, like, you don't owe him anything, so don't worry about it. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's like he wouldn't get to where he was without you, so please just don't worry about it.
I'm wondering if anybody in the shoot got sick when they started dropping toilet pucks in the water.
Oh, yeah.
Like they were trying to drug the creature. Initially, they had this drug on hand. The boat captain, what was his name?
Yeah.
Lucas.
Yeah.
And so they were wanting to drug the creature, hopefully to catch it that way, catch it alive, because Mark wanted to bring it back. And that's where a lot of that
Mark wanted
tension-
to kill it, and then Dan was like, well, maybe we'll just capture it.
Yeah, that was the concession, because Mark didn't even want to, or David didn't even want to take it back.
Yeah, he wanted to leave it in its natural environment. He wanted to study it. Right?
So that was the concession. Well, don't kill it. Let's try something else. So that they drug it, and it's proving a little ineffective because it's not going down deep enough. So they put it in a more concentrated form so it'll sink, and it fizzes. And the first thing I saw was like, oh, those look like toilet pucks. And it's a good effect.
Yep.
It's a good effect. Well, they're saying that the substance was, it's not, I don't know if it's really used for it, but it's actually a substance used in pesticides. So it does exist.
Oh, I wouldn't have wanted to be the guy in the water.
No.
No. But that's not what they use. They use something else to.
What they call it is something that exists. Now,
Rotenol, by the way.
Yeah.
That reminded me of something when you were at the very beginning of the movie. The very first thing you see in the movie is that cloud scene, right? Did anybody? Maybe it's just me projecting, but it looked like the creature's face was in those clouds.
I didn't catch it.
Watch the beginning, because I totally saw it, and I've never seen this movie. I'm like, is that what I think it is? I'm looking at it really closely.
I mean, if it's a matte painting, it very much could have been.
It dissipates and spreads out. Right? Like it actually has form, but it
well,
looks,
in the
I'll have to
50s,
watch
that
it
would
again.
look very obviously animated, or it was just coincidence.
I'm guessing it was probably just coincidence, but I saw it, and I'm like, I need to ask them about that because I saw it.
Oh, wow.
You could just be insane.
Or projecting, but
Yeah.
He's just projecting. I don't know if Sam's
I don't know.
quote unquote insane, but
I've known him longer. I
slightly
can say
crazy.
I have an active imagination sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, we're not going to get him committed. He's not that level.
Well, Jay has the DVD, so after we're done recording, we'll look and see
We'll
if
look
you guys
at
see
it,
it. I
yeah.
won't tell you where I saw it
Yeah.
in there, but see if you guys can see it.
That
Okay.
sounds good. We'll do that.
Yeah, we can do that.
Because I need to know that I'm not nuts or
Not as nuts as you think.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, use your best judgment, audience.
You don't know me.
We're all a little crazy. That's why this works. We're all crazy because 163 movies.
Right? Our sanity's been shattering slowly, week by week,
7.5 days.
with no end in sight.
And that's not counting the movies we just watched recreationally.
Okay. Well, we're about an hour into this podcast. I think it's time to throw some ideas on the table, and we'll get to some casting in a few minutes as well. This is going to be fun because we like to do the monster movies.
Yes.
We do.
And yeah, I think we've covered the basic plot of this thing. And any key moments you want to talk about before we get into this? Because I think we hit a lot of the key moments
I
already.
mean, it's a pretty basic precept.
yeah.
Right,
These movies were pretty simple at the time.
Yeah, if you've seen, I hate to say it, if you've seen one, you've seen them all in terms of basic storyline. The way this one's done, far better than most, I
Yeah.
should say.
Now, I mean, if you're going to carry off Mark as a villain that carries through some weird dark universe, you kind of have to keep him alive. The Gilman doesn't get to kill him, but maybe you should have a henchman that does get killed.
Oh yeah,
Something, another threat within there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
somebody who's backing up
He
Mark.
will come with a very kind of silent, quiet, burly guy
Yeah.
on the expedition.
Because right now, the only one backing up Mark is Mark.
Yeah, no, and I think part of my sort of vision for the remake is that you have a bigger expedition.
Yeah.
And this,
And that's how Mark kind of keeps control as well. I'm paying you guys.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
But-
Well, and I want Captain Lucas to be a bit sort of.
I like that Lucas says, this is my fucking boat.
Yeah.
Well,
Like
doesn't
he
say
gets
fucking,
paid.
but-
He will still be paid by Mark, but
Yeah.
he's pretty.
This is what happens on my boat that's my command.
Yeah.
Not yours.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed looking at that, and actually, he was actually my very first cast. Actually, then yeah, because I
hate
saw him.
to say I forgot to cast him, but I have an idea in my head. So.
Nice.
Yeah, I like saw it right away. But yeah, I sort of kind of saw like I like that character, and so I cast a really strong actor in there to fill that character out a little bit more even.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
But I see this expedition being small at first, and then after they find out, they just sort of discover that theory about how the shelf had broken off and the bones had gotten carried into the lagoon. I see them mounting a larger expedition, and I want like almost like a deep blue sea facility under the water.
Huh.
You could get a lot more interesting shots of things, and you could amp up the tension a lot more. Because a la like the Abyss or whatever, where they spend most of the time.
How big is this lagoon?
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it may not need.
And
to be,
how did they make the facility?
Yeah. Well,
like,
and
I
that's
see a large boat.
a large.
I see some funky
submersible,
military.
Yeah, submersibles for sure.
I see maybe some military tents or something.
Well, I kind of saw sort of something that you have your big sort of science boat, and they have like a pod almost that can lower down from the boat that kind of acts as an underwater lab. Kind of thing.
Yeah, you don't want to make it too big because it's got to go down that tributary, which didn't look super big.
Well, again, like I said, but as I was watching it, this is what I was visualizing. It's something
but
like
you can
that
have it on that crane, which also justifies its existence because at one point the creature does block the tributary exit with a log, and that's one of the things that climax of the film is them trying to remove this log and distract the creature long enough for doing
crane,
so.
It takes out the submersible, which they need.
Yeah. And which is very similar to when it takes out the side boat.
Yes.
The little two-man boat.
The rowboat kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah, but the creature's fairly tactical.
Yeah, but I see it being more high-tech and a bigger crew. I can see just to amp up the tension a little bit, give you some really great underwater sequences. And you can have a lot more fun sort of teasing them with the creature. Like they kind of, there's in the submersible or the sort of underwater viewing station, if you want to call it, where they can actually sort of see stuff going around them, where they kind of catch glimpses of it, but they're not sure what it is. They're not sure if it's a crocodile or a gator or one of those 9-foot catfish, or they see those things and they think it might be.
Oh, do you mean like in what's the one the Bill Murray, Wes Anderson one? It's the Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, and there's like that little pod in the bottom you can look through, sort of thing. Something, yeah. I mean, not like that, but it's something where they can go up and down from the boat through a connected kind of thing, right? And the crane would still work for that. It's like a collapsible.
Yeah, because I'm thinking like size and given the Amazonian rivers and stuff. I'm like, okay, it can only be so big.
Yeah,
but you can have a pod that is brought with the boat, as well as your proper side boats.
What I would say is, if you want to create that illusion of like the massiveness of the operation, is at some point when they're setting up camp, choppers bring in additional equipment that they put on the
which
side.
would be the only way they would get that kind of stuff in there.
Yeah. So I would say that's how you kind of create the idea that this is a wealthy guy, a lot of expeditions.
Yeah, I don't think they'd be suddenly mocking up some underwater facility, but but you know, like a submersible, a small submersible.
Yeah,
but I'm talking about flying in like tents. And,
I totally see some of that in there as well, especially if this guy has a military contract.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other reason I thought this would work too is because I see Mark as a capitalist, obviously, right? Mm-hmm. So, and that ties in really very well with the whole rainforest clear cutting. So his operation is clear cutting, and that's when it's not a scientist who finds these remains. Mm-hmm. It's his clear cutting operation. They come across them.
And I certainly like the environmental impact of that. And then it'd be, and that's actually a good way to go with the creature of this thing that's been unchanged.
It's about to get pushed out of its territory too,
right?
Yeah,
it's being pushed out of its territory, and the environmental allegories towards that would play really nicely towards this.
And you could still keep the one doctor like a geologist because he's looking for minerals and stuff in the rainforest as well.
Yeah, exactly. And then
that's why he knows what the fossil's a fossil.
Yeah, but so you can tie it all together, but it's part of a
and then you bring in your experts.
Yeah, exactly.
Which would be David and Kay.
That's right, right. And I would keep the geologist as the benign character that he is. I really enjoyed his sort of neutrality. Mm-hmm. Right, he kind of didn't really have an opinion one way or the other, to be completely honest.
Well,
I kind of like that.
That was Dr.
I like the
Thompson?
idea that he was a mentor
Maya,
to both of them. I see him as a mentor, remaining.
And he was a mentor to David somehow. They kind of suggested that they had a previous relationship or an ongoing relationship, and I'd like that. And that's how we sort of maybe instead of having David and Kay having a relationship with Mark, it's his relationship. There was a relationship with the geologist that sort of has Mark bring them in.
And see, I went a slightly different way. I don't know.
Well, I'm just talking it out now, right?
Sure. Yeah. No. What would you got?
I eliminated David completely. I made Kay the scientist and the lead, and Mark is her ex.
I was thinking specialties, like, they'd be both specialized in what they do.
Because I didn't need a triangle. I didn't think it was necessary, because I still kept...
I don't think the triangle works in the original movie.
I still kept the other doctor, too, as like the mentor. So you still have the specialist geologist. You still have Kay as about... Because she's not anything in the movie, really.
Well, no, she's Mark's... Girl Friday, I guess. Yeah,
but in this movie, she is the biologist.
Well, and she at some point she does in her dialogue explain certain things to the boat captain of what they're doing and why they're doing it. So she's definitely aware. But it's the 50s, and they treat them like 50s women and just protect them. I'm like, they initially don't want her even to come.
No,
I know.
And I agree that she needs to be a stronger character.
Yeah.
But in this way, you kind of skip over that. You've got a leaner cast.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
It's a pretty lean cast
And
to
it
begin
also
with.
no, but I mean, it also makes sure that she has. It also has a more. The dynamic with the creature is also much deeper.
I'd have her maybe taking the lead on it, but I wouldn't eliminate David.
No.
I would make her more the moral compass, and David could be one of the characters who falls during the film.
Okay, then David dies. I'm fine with David dying.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I
just don't think he's necessary if she's.
Yeah, I don't think and I'm going to pull a Whedon and split the couple up.
Yeah,
I think because I do want her to be the stronger scientific character, and female heroines are in vogue right now.
Yeah, and she's the one. I can see her being as a scientist, really wanting to protect the creature.
Mm-hmm. And you can still have that conflict mainly propagated between David and Mark, and either David falls to the creature or falls to Mark because Mark's had enough.
And I had the conflict between older geologist and Mark.
And this is something I would maybe pull in from one of the other ones where maybe Mark kills David and the creature sees it.
Yeah.
And suddenly Mark's earmarked as a threat. And
it makes
creature.
Mark that much more reprehensible, which would tie it into this universe they're creating.
Yeah, because Mark is the villain.
It makes him more of a villain, right?
Then can we not make David and Kay a couple? Because I just don't think it's necessary.
No, I totally want them as a couple because then his death is more tragic.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. It was the whole idea I had about it, too, is just because she's not with someone doesn't mean she's available. That was sort of the thing. She's not... I liked her being just a completely independent character.
I didn't like the fact that they were engaged after only 6 months. Knee-jerk, you guys are in the honeymoon part of it.
That's the 50s.
Yeah, that is the 50s.
If you aren't married, what's your purpose?
That's
suppose. What I kind of don't want.
Well, and we don't want that. I could see that they're in a nascent relationship, but they're not really in one yet. They're...
you know what? Here, let's make it a little more interesting. She's brought in for her expertise. David is still brought in by Dr. Maya as the protege, but there's a relationship. It's not. It's that the relationship is over at this point, and there's a little bit of animosity. It's a relationship that's failed, and now they're being thrust into this expedition together. So now you have more of an emotional story arc happening between these two, which is somewhat reluctant. You can see it starting to revive during this expedition and these trials with these creatures as some of their people are getting knocked off, so they become a little closer. And then you have your heroic death for David along the way, which is even more powerful because you can see these maybe two getting together again and him maybe getting over some of the shit he did. Maybe he cheated on her. Who knows?
Kind of the whole Twister thing?
Yeah. And so,
See, that's the thing I hated about Twister. I dislike. We just didn't make
but a lot of people did.
Okay,
we just needed something evil to happen for a relationship to work again. It's the dumbest premise ever.
Yeah, but we're going to kill him, so it's all good.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just so trite.
Yeah, I like Jay's idea of having them be exes. I don't think we need to bring them back together.
No.
I'd like to see the hints of that.
Maybe maybe the animosity kind of fades a little bit, and they develop a friendship because they can see
because
they
they're
liked in each
they're
other,
more, and they're
but
more
they're still not
allied.
interested in being together anymore.
And they're more allied against Mark.
Yeah.
But I think that you've got to have some more emotional hooks with these characters. Otherwise, why have them around?
That's why I didn't want him
argument
around.
is.
Yeah, but if there's no emotional arcs to any of these characters, then
you don't have
a movie.
But that's why I had Mark be the ex. She's really antagonistic toward him.
Yeah, but Mark's going to be the foil in several movies or whatever.
Well, ideally, that's what we're kind of envisioning.
So no, that doesn't work either.
Yeah.
Why not? Because she can't be a foil against Mark.
Why would she work with him in the first place?
She was brought in by Carl Maia.
But
She's the protege, not the other guy.
Yeah, no,
But-
it still doesn't work for me. No, I
see your point, but
Well, then how did she get... Okay, if she doesn't want to work with Mark, how did she get there just because the other guy's there? You've already put her there, and now her ex has shown up, so she's less of a reason to be there now.
she would know who the financier was right away, I would think.
Yeah, then why is she there in the first place?
Well,
Ignore
I thought what we were talking about is she was working for him. I thought I didn't think Mark was her ex. I thought
Well,
she
no,
was an
I don't
employee.
want Mark to be the ex.
Yeah.
And
No,
she
we're
never-
talking about David being her
No,
ex.
I know David being her ex, but what I'm saying is you've just said she has no reason to be there if Mark is her ex. But we've put her there working already with Dan as her ex. She already knows who's financing it in both scenarios. So why should she
but
even
Mark
come
at
there?
no point has ever been is her ex. He's her employer.
Yeah.
That's why she's there. That's the way I saw it.
See, in the movie, it was very much implied that they were together previously.
Mark, I
So?
never really. Caught
No,
that either.
I kind of got the impression that Mark might have been interested, but she should.
That's why the doctor says you don't owe him anything.
That's because she's worked for him. She's been employed by him for several years. She even says, "I've been working with him for a long time."
Yeah.
Right, but that doesn't mean we have to keep that in our movie.
Yeah, and they don't.
No.
They at no point does that actually play in the movie.
No.
Like the original film. Like at no point do I think Mark has any romantic interest.
No,
in Kay.
and nor her and him.
Oh, really? He
yeah.
seemed very jealous at several points.
Well, yeah, because she's his girl Friday, and that's the way I put basically what her role is in this movie is an employee of his employee, and she knows all his secrets, right? She expects her to back him up when David's contradicting him or when there's that conflict. That's the feeling I got from him was that he expects everybody to sort of back him up, right? Because of his arrogance. I mean, I don't think David's an essential character, but in terms of his role in the movie, but I think that type of character still needs to be there. And I think that Jay might be on the right track by having him be an ex. And they have different fields, right? Like,
Oh, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
there's a rationale for them both being there, right?
Yeah, if they're two different fields, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, they're two different fields.
Like maybe he's the cryptozoologist, the crazy guy that goes looking for Bigfoot and shit, and she's an actual marine biologist scientist,
Ooh,
right?
Have it like the
and
Scully,
you can have him made more kooky.
the Scully Mulder dynamic where it's friendship, not necessarily romantic.
yeah, that's what we're trying to say.
There we go. Sorry, that didn't feel like what you were getting at all.
Well, I was thinking it'd be maybe post romantic relationship thing.
Yeah, but they're
But they're so far different because she's very scientifically minded and he's like, ooh, spaceships.
yes,
That's
yes.
one way to go. I was thinking the other one is he's a dive expert. Simple.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
He's brought on to be their
I would
tech
say
guy, right?
The way she swims, I would say she's the fucking dive expert.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah,
But
maybe you're right.
They both dive. She's a biologist.
But
She's going to have to dive.
you're going to make this cast a little more robust. I would maybe have that as a fun secondary character who probably
Yeah.
gets off halfway through the film.
Yeah.
John Leguizamo.
Yeah.
Yay! There we go. I put him in this.
That's kind of what he does.
Yeah.
He's memorable for half a movie, and then you get rid of him.
Exactly.
You kill him. Except in John Wick, where he shows up again. He's awesome in that.
Yes, I love it. But yeah, no, maybe you're a cryptozoologist, or she's a marine biologist, and he's
the crazy pie in the sky.
or he's like he studies reptiles, whatever that you call that, because they're marine
Herpetologist?
Herpetologist, yeah. So because there's elements of both of those in this creature and the remains they found, right? So maybe they're both biologists but different fields. And
Sure.
it's necessary for them to come together to come.
I would still give him that fascination into cryptozoology.
I think so too.
I like
I
that.
love the aspect because
I
there
do
could be a
like
lot
that.
of humor there.
Yeah.
That plays a lot better
and
to the
that-
guy who cast as David as well, because he could pull
Yeah.
off the more kooky stuff.
That also still adds.
It doesn't go with mine, but that's okay.
It still adds to the dynamic of some of the conflict they could have.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
that Kay is like, why? That's crazy talk.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
those are just fun moments that you can pad out the film a little bit with. Because, I mean, this film's like, not even an hour and a half. It's like 80 minutes long or something.
Yeah, it's
119
short.
minutes. Yeah, so 80 minutes. Yeah, yeah. And I cast the other Doctor too because I saw
Me too.
I saw him as comic relief, and I actually cast deliberately that way.
I did cast Thompson as well, yeah. For some reason, I forgot my Lucas, but I have one in mind now.
Yeah, it's okay. I didn't cast a Gilman.
I didn't either, because I figured that's going to mainly be visual effects.
Yeah, it can be any athletic.
I cast the Gilman for some of the more closer up stuff that might not be CGI.
No, I still think it's going to be a
Motion
mix
capture.
of motion capture, a mix of practical
Oh,
and digital.
well, then my guy will still work.
Yeah, so that's fine. But
He has
when
no
I
dialogue, so
when I think about that, you're mainly finding stuntmen or good swimmers or that sort of thing. So it's more. I'll leave that to the special effects guys. But visually, there's probably some tweaking, but I'd keep the basic same look to the character.
Oh yeah, I just give more life to the eyes. And that's pretty much all I change. More
And
life to the
you
face.
can do
Well,
that
I mean,
now.
more life to
what
just
they've got.
Yeah, the
face.
gills are always moving. And definitely more articulation in the face to really make this thing alive, and just streamline it a little bit more.
Yeah. Maybe
it's
sort
fine.
of bring back some of that element of the eel that they originally wanted, right? Maybe,
I would go with their secondary idea of making it the female of the species.
yes, yeah, but I mean, capture not make it like the eel, but slim it out to give it that sort of
And that
element,
could,
eel-like
and maybe that
look.
motivates the action within the film when they capture the creature for study. Like, they haven't differentiated yet what they're seeing. When they capture a creature, they capture the female, and that motivates the attacks from the male to free the female.
I like that, and you know what? I love how it could kind of feed into the whole mermaid myth now too.
Yeah.
If she's kind of eel-like.
Oh, that's nice. And that ties to the cryptozoology.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. And see, I was seeing Dr. Thompson as my cryptozoologist because he's my comic relief.
Okay.
Right? But, I mean, that's...
It could be.
But I could see David maybe getting really into it with him, and that could lead to some really funny stuff, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, my Dr. Thompson is more like environmentalist.
He doesn't seem to be doing much in this movie right now.
Who, David?
No, Thompson.
No.
No, that's I want to give him more, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly.
I'm not even sure what he does.
Well, and that was exactly.
He's always standing in the background smoking a pipe.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's the pipe smoking professor.
Yeah.
You could make him like, I don't know, like a botanist for the area. Be like, this is what I think
Sure.
is happening. This
Yeah.
is
Yeah. Well,
You've got
this
a
is
geologist,
what they're living on.
a
This is what they're
botanist.
having.
Yeah, you should have a whole team of scientists.
yeah, and and you see rounded out with like technicians and stuff like that. Like I'm seeing
Sure.
like dozens of people sort of encamped on along the edges of the lagoon and working on and off the boat. Like I want carnage when this creature finally goes.
Yeah, no, I'm
goes in.
figuring about-
the labs gets
Yeah, I'm
destroyed.
figuring the amount of people's about 3 times of what they have
Yeah.
right now. With the core cast of fairly
5.
close to the same.
Well, like we say, like the first act is the small group of people who are there,
Yeah.
and then the second act is the extended.
Yeah.
Everybody comes in.
Yeah, because they now know that they're going to be working on the bottom of this lagoon. They're going to need more than just dive gear.
Yeah, once they realize that what they're looking for as far as the skeleton is going to be further down the lagoon.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I think it should not be. It should still be fairly deep as well.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, I agree. It's fairly deep. And I like there's that bit there where there's that sort of crevasse at the bottom of the lagoon.
Yeah.
They definitely want to keep that so that they think they found sort of.
Oh
where it
yeah,
would
we
be.
should
a little
really
cave system.
Yeah, we should really make the lagoon its own character.
Yeah.
You know, it should have a unique look and probably some unique species in there as
Yeah.
well. And, maybe
Unique plant life, unique fish.
And the creature should be the apex predator, but it shouldn't be the only threat within this ecosystem.
No, I totally agree. Yeah, there should be piranha and gators, crocodiles. I can't remember which is which in Amazon. I think it's
crocodiles.
crocodiles
I could
in
be
the
wrong.
Amazon. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But
I'm not going to guess.
Freshwater
No,
crocodiles.
50-50.
Yeah. Hard to say.
I mean, you got sharks now swimming into freshwater, so
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there have been in the Amazon. So
yeah,
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, there's nothing to say that you couldn't have some sort of freshwater shark because there are freshwater sharks too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, that's something that somebody's going to have to do a little more research of what's actually in the Amazon. But again, if it's a closed ecosystem, you've already discovered one creature that doesn't exist anywhere else, you could have another, just, a more simpler one. So you can make up some other shit.
Yeah,
and-
you can make up some
that's
crazy
fine.
stuff like that. The amount of oxygen in this particular lagoon is amazing, considering it's a still source or something like that.
Yeah.
Something weird that created it.
Yeah, you can have some fun with the ecosystem, and it gives the scientists things to study and what to do, and not everybody gets knocked off by the creature.
Yeah. Right. I mean, you don't
Just
have
simple
to, right?
accidents. Yeah.
Yeah, right,
If
and-
you're not respecting the ecosystem.
Yeah, and you know what? Some of them can get knocked off by the rest of by the other parts of the ecosystem, right?
Yeah, a landslide, a freaking giant spider. Let's make
Giant
this
snake,
place
jaguar.
alive.
I mean, you could actually have a jaguar because they say
Yeah.
that his other guys were killed by a jaguar. Why not have them killed by a
the
jaguar?
creature
instead?
kills a mountain lion in the third movie. So
Oh, really?
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you know, I think the idea of having the creature be benign until they until they capture the female of the system, I like that conceit
Yeah.
far better than
and
the
threatening his
unexplained
ecosystem.
murder of these two characters at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, that bugged me a little bit because it really takes away from the whole you're intruding on my ecosystem and I'm attacking you because of that. I mean, this is the first time he's going to even see them. He doesn't know they're a threat right away until they attack him.
right.
He's going to be curious, and we should see a lot of that curiosity initially. But when we see the human beings being violent to other things in the ecosystem, that's when things should start ramping up in what the creature's doing, because he's probably also protective of the ecosystem as well.
Because it's his home. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that would feed more into the whole thing that we were talking about earlier with him being protective of the Kay character, because he doesn't see her as being threatening. He sees her as somebody who respects that ecosystem.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's why he tries to protect her. And that would make more sense.
And
because-
imagine that swimming scene, but like a pod of Gilman. So you've got the male, the female, maybe a couple of kids, or little tadpoles.
Yeah, they wouldn't be fully formed yet, so they'd
Yeah.
have to be.
Haven't quite got their sea legs yet, so they got
I
more
think
tails.
that'd be so much fun to see.
Right, and swimming along with Kay, like they're really fascinated and they see her as a peaceful creature.
And I think that's
Yeah.
why she needs to be the only woman, is because she's different than the men.
Yeah,
Right.
and you could maybe see things amping up, like maybe the sea captain is catching
Yeah.
fish with dynamite.
Yeah, like you can amp things up. I think I could also have what I would also
That
kind
could
of
kill one of the children.
have Dr. Thompson be another, like she is different than all the men, but Dr. Thompson, they kind of also sense he's probably not as bad.
Mm-hmm.
And so like when he gets hurt, it's an accident, which knocks off something else. You know what I mean? Like they
Yeah.
think, oh my God, this creature's violent, but it was just simply an accident.
Yeah, I mean, you
His
stick to
curiosity
that.
getting the better of
Yeah,
him,
you
Yeah.
stick to that misconstrued formula that really works for the universal creatures.
Yeah, it certainly it adds to it. Yeah, I don't know about the whole dynamiting the.
Oh, I was just bringing stuff up,
yeah,
but
'cause I'm like-
we already got the whole thing with the female of the species being caught. You don't need more motivation, but if that happened, the creature would be raging.
Well,
I'm
you
sure.
can have as an homage what he's not using dynamite, but
and they
he's using,
do that in the second movie. By the
Oh
way.
wow, he's using that drug stuff.
Yeah.
And they don't actually use that to get the creature in this movie, but he's using that drug stuff just to catch fish because that's
Well,
what he says they
he's-
do.
yeah.
That would make more sense, because I think if
That-
they use dynamite, they'd cover up the fossils they're trying to find. There's no way they'd let it happen.
And maybe
right?
that's when the female eel version comes up.
Is it actually gets
Yeah.
her?
That's how they get her, and they probably don't even realize the species exists outside of the fossils that they found.
Well,
Yeah.
and they
As
don't
of yet.
until they see him underwater, right?
Yeah.
And I did like that sort of chase scene where David and Mark are sort of chasing it, and David just wants photographs. And then Mark starts shooting at it. I like that scene because again, it really showed Mark's lack of character.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, he's a trophy hunter. That's all Mark is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I'd like to keep something like that in there. So you'd have to sort of figure that out, how that would work.
Well, especially if they think there's more than one.
Yeah.
Now he figures he can kill one.
Yeah.
And take it back with him.
Yeah.
And then that's when David or Kay's will try to say, no, there's more value in a live specimen because then we can,
Yeah.
And as there's
but
and
all he's going to think is dissection.
but
Yeah.
you can also have as Kay as they've captured the female, like Kay sort of interacting with the female creature, like you could have some
Yeah.
moments.
Yeah,
there.
more
her kindness and trying to keep it from being harmed and trying to calm it down.
Yeah.
Right. I see Kay being the one who has those discussions with Mark about what's right, and David just backs her up, kind of thing, rather than it always being David and Mark. Because you're right, it is.
I mean,
Dynamics are
and I
different
like
now.
the idea
Yeah.
of David being somewhat torn by his cryptozoological interests and wanting to prove this existence of this creature
Versus what's
versus
morally right.
what's morally right.
Yeah.
And that gives that character something to struggle with.
I do like that.
Yeah.
I like that better.
I've always liked to give my characters emotional arcs.
Yeah.
oh yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
And
Something to overcome.
and that's what's necessary, like for
Yeah.
him, because I just didn't feel he was sort of he was just a flat character in the first one.
Yeah.
They're
Like
all
he-
mostly
he
flat
didn't
except
really-
for Mark, actually, to be completely honest.
Yeah, Mark
Yeah.
is the only. Well, he dies,
Yeah.
so
But nobody
Not his flat
feels
line, but
yeah, nobody feels fully formed.
no.
And yeah, Mark doesn't sacrifice himself. He does use himself as a lure
yeah.
to the creature, but he still wants to get that
Yeah.
thing.
Oh, he's hoping
it was
to win.
never sacrificial.
No. He was hoping to. He was exactly right. He was hoping to win.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's the kind of mentality he has.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I have to say, out of that one, I did really kind of like that scene where the creature knew would just drag him down, because that's very crocodile, like drag you down and drown you.
Yeah. I like the idea of maybe Mark trying to escape on his helicopter and the creature trying to. But I mean, if that character is going to carry over, he does have to get away. But you can have some thrilling things if we're choppering in some equipment.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see. And now that we're talking
Ooh,
about this,
a chopper crash into the water.
Right?
exactly.
I mean, it wouldn't be a big copter, but one of those, lighter.
The ones you see in movies, the wealthy guy helicopter that they just come in on.
with the pods where they land on water
Yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah.
Like almost
Yeah.
like the MASH helicopters.
Yeah.
Or like Lake Placid.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
I just sort of had this bing moment here. We could have the creature turning Mark into his own monster because in this, I don't want to struggle. He claws up and beats up Mark so badly. He's like so scarred that he becomes a monster.
Oh, he just looks as ugly on the outside as
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I do like that because I cast a fairly handsome dude in that role who's
Ooh.
a pretty powerful would put in a powerful performance even under makeup.
Yeah.
So
I like the idea because then that
I wonder if we
really
don't have the
helps
same
tie it
guy.
into the
what if
new universe,
there's
right?
what if there's some sort of I just don't know enough about fish and amphibians and things. But what if there's some sort of residue? I don't want to make him like an alien or something, but something that they can't operate on Mark later with. But then again, if we're doing it as a period, 70s, 80s
platypuses have poison barbs on them. So it
Okay.
could be a poison of some kind.
yeah, there's
That
something.
is sort of a flesh-eating.
It could just be like a
Because
bacteria.
spiders have
yeah.
flesh-eating poison. You could have barbs that are flesh-eating.
yeah,
Oh, it's just bacteria from being in
Oh, yeah.
in water,
well,
right?
blowfish too.
Amazon water
Yeah.
is probably his bacterial
Yeah, well, that's
infection.
true.
Right? I mean, especially,
Spiky Canada.
yeah.
Well, isn't
or
there-
it could be just the after effect of the
He's got a fish in his penis.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, the one that swims up your penis and
Yeah,
But I mean,
You.
it could be a side effect of the drug that they're dropping into the water, right? It's interacting with the water somehow, and it becomes toxic to human beings. Like in
I don't know, but that might have
That would
adversely affect the creatures.
Well,
as
and that's
well.
that's
it
that's the
also
problem.
might hurt if more of our underwater scenes trying to explain people still going in.
Yeah, no, I don't think that.
But
would
yeah,
be
just
the
I think
case.
just down with because he gets flown out, he doesn't get medical attention right away, right?
No, but we've already said this is a closed ecosystem. It doesn't actually have to happen from the creature standpoint. It could be something we established a little earlier in the film about the ecosystem itself. Maybe there's a very acidic tree. Like, I mean, we have ivy, and we see what that does. What if this is like 1,000 times worse? What would that do?
Well,
Or maybe it's a rare toxic spider bite or a snake, or I mean,
Yeah.
it could be all sorts of things.
the reason I wanted it to be
Giant
creatures so you can
insects.
still have that fight scene between the two of them,
Yeah.
right? But he can instead of getting
Yeah, but what if there's a fight between Mark? Because I mean, the creature is just going to crush him. He's so strong.
Yeah.
But what if there's a fight that's interrupted by something from the ecosystem? Like a big centipede wraps around Mark's face, and it just gives the creature time to like back off. I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
as he's getting maybe shot at by some other guys catching up to the fight. So he dives back into the water, and now Mark's left really scarred by whatever just attacked him.
Yeah, I still want him scarred by the creature.
And he's going to blame the creature, though.
It'll feel more personal if it's still by the creature, but...
And there's an irony there if the creature does
That's
it,
true.
right?
I mean,
Right,
we do see the claws on marks on people,
Yeah.
especially how it disfigures Thompson.
I still think we can have
Ooh.
bacteria in the water.
Yeah.
That if that actually attack on Thompson could make him an ally of Mark's. Because
Yeah.
Mark doesn't have much backing him up right now, and
Yeah.
Thompson didn't have anything.
Yeah.
What if we're starting to split this main team up
Yeah, because
into two
Carl
sides?
is with Kay and David, and then Dr. Thompson, we don't know where he is.
Yeah, and the boat captain, for the most part, he's in it for the money, but siding with the nice people.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still, he doesn't like the idea that they're, because he's local. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
I have him as local. He's like, he's not down with all this crap they're doing in his place.
and he's actually a little pissed off about the you know what you
About
got a
the camp
subplot
and the
there with
lab
him
and all the other
actually
crap.
having a motive to actually try and sort of undermine everything for Mark because of what he's doing to the economy, or not to the economy but to the ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
So you could have a really great subplot there. Right? So and that could sort of,
But at the same time,
you don't really need
Mark
it.
might be the biggest employer of people
Yeah.
in this in knocking down this jungle or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
he might be the biggest employer to these people, so maybe that's why he's working for him.
Well, and I think that's kind of the
Reluctantly.
reluctantly, and,
Yeah.
and very reluctantly. But I can see that he sort of has an ulterior. I just kind of like the idea of him having a motive for.
And it could also
that
be like
for
he's
not liking
he's
Mark,
heard
yeah.
stories of these fish people for like a long time, and now that he knows about them, it's sort of, he's kind of like, oh, we've talked about this. They've been here for so long.
Yeah, and Mark's somebody like you. If you carry this over 3 creature films per se, like that, he'd get maybe taken out in the third one where he amps up his attack on these creatures, and because it's at some point Mark's got to go down, and we got to stop his
Yeah.
destruction of this beautiful rainforest.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was almost kind of seeing Mark as sort of a tie. Kind of like the whole Jekyll organization, sort of an
anti-version of it?
an antithesis to Jekyll's
The
organization.
Cobra Commander.
Yeah, he's Cobra Commander.
Right, yeah, especially if we just figure him into a monster. My bad. But
Yeah, well, he's got they need the
But
mask.
you know, in The Mummy, that's what winds up happening. Spoilers if you haven't seen the 2017 Mummy, but Tom Cruise gets all the Mummy's powers by the end. Yeah, it's fucking dumb. Don't watch
you can't
it.
see my face right now, but it has a look of consternation on it. There we go.
Yeah, it is so stupid. So I'm like, all right, I see what you're doing. We're gonna have a bunch of super monster Avengers bullshit. So this is why we're trying to avoid that. We're still keeping these monster movies,
Yes.
Yeah.
and that's
Not super
that's the
movies,
importance.
Why
of
can't we
this.
keep our monsters monsters?
Yeah,
Yeah, but I like the idea.
They're not a bad monster. They're just a monster.
And I like the idea of the creature, like instead of being hunted down, being a rescuer at some point in here as well. Is after his conflict with Mark, he does end up rescuing Kay, but he rescues her for the right reasons, not to get her just to get her away from these guys, but because she's at risk somehow.
Yeah.
Maybe Mark's. In his rage to get away, he starts shooting in the boat and starts an explosion or something, right? And so he rescues her for the right reasons. Right? I want our creature to be kind of the hero.
Yeah.
you know, we could have the Mark's mutation into a monster of some sort because of some of the experimentation that they're already doing on the female
there we
they've
go.
captured.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what if he's injected stem cells into himself or something? I mean, I don't know the science behind what happens, but
But it's a
maybe
movie, so we can do whatever science we want.
can do whatever
Oh, yeah.
we want because these always have gobbledygook science.
Because you could have the whole thing where he's like, yeah, no, but I want to breathe underwater. I'm like, what have you got for me? And they're like, but we
He's
haven't
gonna
tested it on people yet. Like, have the scientists be like, we haven't tested it on people. I don't care. And
Maybe
then
they
just-
test
I
it
don't
on
think
a
he
rat.
does it. He
and
just
maybe
goes
they-
in and does it.
Well, I could maybe it's accidental.
Yeah.
Well,
as well.
I just think that he didn't make it. He's making them make it, and so he has to have some scientists do
Yeah.
it.
Well, no, I think that they're in his infinite wisdom somehow, like he's watching the results from the scientists and sees a use for something they've.
Yeah, like he has them like they're injecting rats and testing if they can put them in water.
I almost think he should be the one change into this creature in the second movie. Even though I don't want to plot out 3 movies, but that really does feel like a second movie idea.
Yeah,
horrific
but-
side
yeah.
effects.
Yeah, but and or maybe you know what? There's regenerative
Ooh,
powers.
he gets away with like that sample from the lab. That's how he gets away.
That's your
I think
climax.
that's your climax. That's when they finally lose him at the end.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe you could hint that that's something about their genetic makeup allows for regeneration, which goes back to my.
And maybe he's been isolated by the creature, and the only thing to keep him from dying is to inject this in himself, because he is trying to escape with this sample.
Yeah, I don't know.
But there's all sorts of fun things you can do with it.
But
because I can see maybe the Universal guys wanting a climax on a monster thing. But
oh yeah, like I mean, I do want something to happen later on with Mark. But yeah, I don't know. Either he gets away with the sample, or it's
or he dies in this movie. He doesn't have to play through all three movies. There's lots of evil.
Yeah, I mean, we don't. You're right. We don't need to. I did kind of get hung up on that idea because I kind of liked it.
Yeah, you can have a voiceless person on the other end of the phone that runs quote unquote a board.
The more I think about it, the more he shouldn't get away, and you should actually have a kind of happier ending in the ecosystem for a little bit. Well, like his business still exists.
Here we go. The ending we have,
and then Thompson becomes the new bad guy.
It could be. What I was thinking is, okay, you know how we have the ending with the creature floating down towards the bottom of the thing?
Yeah.
Instead, it's Mark.
Because he does die in the movie, and I think maybe he should still if he's the big bad guy. And Thompson gets away with a lot of hate because he got scarred up in his conflict.
Yeah.
And he's the one that, I mean, he's not monstrous, but he becomes really
monstrous.
Yeah, he becomes that Ahab.
And the tragedy is it was just an accident.
Yeah.
I'm not talking like a monster. I'm talking about monstrous. Like
and
scarred
and I would maybe say he was already Mark's right-hand man, his head scientist. So he can be the next bad guy if you keep that franchise going.
I think he was probably morally ambiguous to begin with. He still wasn't certain of everything Mark wanted to do, but that injury is what cemented him in being aligning with Mark.
Yeah, I can see that working.
Oh, I like our movie now.
Yeah.
And there's lots of homages to the old one. It still has a similar structure, but a really more action, fast-paced one as well.
And hopefully a more well-rounded cast.
And because this thing's so short, you've got a lot more time to play with and add all this stuff in as well.
Yeah, even if you got 20 minutes, you're adding in a lot of characters.
There's a lot of time to develop this stuff.
Exactly. And you can have, like, I just want more interactions, like with Kay and the creatures, just sort of establishing that mutual curiosity, which I think would be nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Because it's all just fear. It's curiosity on the part of the creature, but fear on the part of the humans. But I would like to see mutual curiosity.
Yeah, I like the idea of there being interactions that aren't fear. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
I feel sad for my David now, knowing that he's going to die, but that's fine.
I know. Well, Mark, it's because of Mark. Mark's the asshole. Don't worry about that.
Mark killed him.
Mark's the evil one.
Yep. Okay, let's get to some casting now, because this is awesome.
Yeah, we're going a long ways, aren't we?
Yeah.
Well, we had to do a lot.
We had a lot of ideas.
We have to treat this as the movie that we want to make.
To see.
But I think we do need to ensure that it's also capable of standing alone, and that I think by still killing Mark, and still leaving it open for Thompson to be the continuation.
You have a back door to continue on, but it's not the same old.
Yeah.
So.
And the creatures get away, and there's more to happen.
And then there's also Kay can still be a tie-in to Jekyll's organization if that's the way they want it.
And then if you want to continue with that nonsense, then she can be recruited.
You could have the usual nonsense post-credit sequence. Kay, and then she turns around.
I'd like to talk to you about the Monster Squad.
Fuck off. I hear you found something interesting in the Amazon. Fade to black.
Fade to black. You don't look like Sam Jackson.
No.
No, but I do have rage issues.
Yes.
There we go.
Do you know did they ever say who Dr. Jekyll is supposed to be? Any of the things?
He was Jor-El in Man of Steel.
Oh my God. Australian actor, right? Russell Crowe?
Russell Crowe. Yeah. Has rage issues. He was very well cast.
Oh, that's what I was. How perfect is that?
He was very well cast. Yes. Doesn't he have an evil sounding name?
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe.
Yeah, I'm not doing
I don't know if I can trust Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe.
Yeah, that worked.
Yeah.
That was the one, Jay.
Thank you. All right, we did it.
I love it. I love it so much.
Never trust Russell Crowe.
You haven't heard the last of Russell Crowe.
awesome.
Okay. Russell Crowe is not in my casting.
No, neither mine, actually.
All right. Well, I've gone last a lot of times, so I'm going to lead this sucker out. As I was thinking about Lucas, Andy Serkis, because I didn't write him down.
Sweet. He's perfect.
Right.
But in this movie, rather than King Kong, he needs to take off an apron. He can't keep it on the whole
I don't want
movie.
the apron being on the whole time. No. He's not a cook. He's a captain.
He's a great actor, though.
So I'm on board for Andy Serkis. It just popped in my head. I'm glad that they come easy. For my K, I went with, now that she's got a bigger part, I actually wish I would have went with a bigger actress. She's mainly from television. She was the villain in Agent Carter the first season, and she had a small part in the first John Wick, Behind the Bar. Her name is Bridget Regan. I really like the look of her, and I think...
Bridget Regan.
like.
She wasn't in Hannibal, was she, or no?
I don't think so.
I can't remember, because either that or I keep mixing her up with the other actress, because she's really good.
I'd like to see more of her. I especially like her when she's got the darker hair like she had in John Wick and
I think she can
tattoos up her arms.
Yeah.
I think she can totally handle that.
I think so too, and I think it's time to get her off TV. She's in a lot of TV, successful TV shows.
I casted TV actresses.
She was actually the only TV actress I went with, but I think it's time, and she kind of fits in the age group of my casting as well. So.
Exactly.
And for her David, ex-David, crazy David, I went with Chris Pine.
Nice.
Yes. For my Mark, I'm very proud of my Mark. Michael Fassbender.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
Now that we've done the story, even better.
And just because I see him smoking a pipe all the time, Dr. Thompson is going to be Tom Hiddleston.
Nice.
Okay.
My Carl and Dr. Maya is going to be Christoph Waltz, so we might have to change his last name.
Yeah.
We don't know. He might have been born down there.
Maybe.
Hey, there are lots of
His
German
dad was Brazilian?
history in Brazil.
He's from Argentina.
Argentina, yeah.
Has a
Right.
dubious background. No.
Right. And for my director, I went with Matt Reeves. He's kind of got the balance of what I'm looking for. Directed previous episode of ours, Let Me In.
Nice.
So go listen to Let the Right One In versus Let Me In. It's a good episode.
Really good.
He also directed Cloverfield and most recently War of the Planet of the Apes as well as The Dawn, the previous one as well. So he's got the balance of what I'm looking for, and he seems to be good at working with creatures and doing monster movies of very different types. So he's kind of got everything I'm looking for in he's not going to settle for a dumbass script. So
Nice. That's good.
yeah,
Very good.
Trish.
That's me. Okay. So as you know,
welcome back
Thank
to
you,
the
everybody.
fold in the room.
I'm in the room. This is live, guys. 3D. But as we know, I didn't do my David, but I do like the Chris Pine idea. And this one, actually, I went with a largely Latin cast because I'm
Cool.
like, this is down south.
Sure.
So for Kay, I also went with the TV actress, Melissa Fumero of Brooklyn Nine-Nine,
Okay.
because I think she's fun and I could see her playing a scientist. I didn't have I had Dan Mark, which is I just combined them. Rodrigo Santoro, 300, and Love Actually.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
He's also from Brazil, so good.
Well, if he's in 300, he's got some good abs.
Exactly. Carl Maia, Jimmy Smits,
Okay.
because he played in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He played Melissa Fumero's dad, and I just like their dynamic.
Okay.
For Captain Lucas, Nestor Carbonell. I haven't seen him in much since the 90s. He's been in a few. Please, he was in Suddenly Susan.
Okay.
Playing the
What a
side
great
character.
name, Nestor.
Dr. Thompson, Edgar Ramirez
Okay.
from Point Break. Mm-hmm. Then I had Zia. I can't remember. I had Gonzalo Venezuela. The Creature, I had Derek Mears because I like his
Nice.
size and his physicality.
Right.
And for
And he's easy to do makeup with that bald head of his.
exactly, and he's tall and imposing, but he's got that gentleness, right? And then for the director, I went with Guillermo del Toro because nobody else I know can make me sob like a little baby at the end of a supposed horror movie.
And I was.
And he already knows how to handle sea creatures. Ape sapien.
Ape sapien, yeah. And that's why I stayed away from him because he was on my list too.
I did. I was thinking about, nope, I can't do it because he's already done it.
Yeah.
I just wanted that empathy angle.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And, he's done giant monsters as well in Pacific Rim. So.
Yes, he's a very capable director.
Yeah.
But we all know that we love Guillermo del Toro. And
That's why I'm starting to stray away from him, because I use him a lot.
Plus, well, he was also, he went with my whole Hispanic casting.
Oh, absolutely. And you can do a nice shoot out there.
Beautiful. Oh, it's so gorgeous.
Yeah, so my cast is very mixed. So I'll start with my K, because she's first on my list. I went with an actress by the name of Jessica Lowndes.
I like her.
Yeah, I know. She's got that classic 50s look to her with the eyes and the dark hair and stuff. Most people know her from 90210, but she's done a lot of other stuff on TV.
Yeah, that was also one of the reasons I went with Bridget Regan, is because that takes place in the 50s.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and she's got that 50s look.
Yeah.
So even if we set it in the 80s or 90s,
it's still fine.
It still works.
Yeah.
For my David Reed, I went with Daniel Wu, another TV actor.
Ooh, he's good.
He's good, yeah. He's a little bit older, and that with our recasting, I think that would work very well. And I've seen him kind of play the semi-comedic, so he plays the serious guy, but he has a sense of humor too. So I kind of think he'd still work. For my Mark Williams, I cast Idris Elba.
Okay,
nice.
I can just totally see him playing like the arrogant rich guy really well.
Yeah. I just think back to what was it, the cop show.
Brooklyn Nine?
No, The Wire. Not The Wire.
The Wire.
Luther.
The Wire. Yeah, I was thinking of The Wire, and
Luther's also there too.
What an asshole he was in that.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, he's starting to get a lot more name recognition because of The Dark Tower, but I still would like to see him in that role.
Sure.
For my Dr. Carl Maia, I have Gary Oldman.
Nice.
For my Lucas, I have Benicio del Toro.
Oh yeah, I like that.
And because I wanted to give him more, and I just
he likes to play kooky.
Yeah, I see him showing up the scenery a little bit, like he really does like to, and I kind of see him as it's kind of like his character in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, kind of the portly, kind of a little bit crazy kind of guy. That's who I was seeing when I cast him.
I also see him as grizzled and you guys don't know the Amazon.
Yeah, and he's been doing a lot of that lately, and unfortunately he's been doing a lot of that lately, so it kind of takes it away from it a little bit, but still liked him. For my Dr. Thompson, I cast John Hannah.
Oh, yeah.
He was in the original Mummy, tied it in.
Nice.
Not the original Mummy, but the remake, the last remake of the Mummy.
And for Weddings at a Funeral.
Brother, so I wanted him as sort of the comedic relief with a little more to do.
Yeah.
So I went with somebody who's got those comedic chops, but he can also play serious fairly well as well.
Yeah.
So
before you continue, now that it just popped in my head, there's a very young actor in the sequel to Creature of the Black Lagoon: Revenge.
Yeah.
In the just stupidest scene, and it's a young Clint Eastwood.
Nice.
Yeah. And he's like, I think this cat isn't as benign as we thought, because I had 4 rats in there and now there are 3. And then he reaches in his pocket and like, oh, how did that get there? And he pulls out another rat. I'm like, that was so dumb, and we never see him again.
We must watch this.
He probably got fired for being a dumb scientist.
Probably, yes. But it must have been fun to see.
It was. I'm like, holy shit, that's Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood misplacing rats.
Yeah.
And all I have left is my director.
Okay.
I used Alex Proyas, who did The Crow, Dark City, really good at sort of creating a dark, moody type of film, but still can still have that light sense of humor as well.
Okay.
Nice.
Cool. I think we've got an incredible cast all the way around.
Yeah.
I'd like to see most of these.
Yeah.
And I think we figured out the way it should be done.
Yeah, at least what excites us. I mean, it's 3 people in a room. You might disagree with us, and that's okay. Like, if you got your own ideas, you can let us know and what you would do with this movie. What would your cast look like, and maybe what would your version of the movie look like? You can tell us in short bursts on Twitter at Invasion Remake, or a little more long form on our Facebook page. Go like our page, and then leave us a message and tell us what you would do, who you'd cast, and that's Invasion of the Remake on Facebook. Or you can do it on our email as well, invasionoftheremake@gmail.com. Send us your questions, suggestions, and comments about this film or any others, and we'll check it out. We're the ones that see it, so interact with us, and we will talk to you.
For sure. And I'm really excited to hear about castings, because I know sometimes I get bogged down in the same names. So if somebody knows of some up and comer that we haven't heard about, it would be amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We recently had somebody share their casting for one of our episodes, and it was a lot of fun to see that casting. So keep doing it.
Yeah, keep doing it. I'd like to see other people's casting and who they would put in their version of the movies as well. We all have our ideal casts and what would excite us most. So, what excites you most? Let's find out.
It's exciting to see, because you might have a completely different visual for it, and we might be like, oh my God, why did we not think of that?
Exactly. And, we'll give you a shout-out if we really like it on the show. So.
Yeah.
So, and if nothing else, we'll talk to you directly on our Facebook or whatever social media you happen to reach out to us on. And, we'll interact with you because we think that's cool.
Yeah.
And, if you see us posting on that social media, we certainly appreciate the hearts and likes. It puts a warm glow in the cockles.
Deep in the cockles.
Deep in the cockles. You figure out where the cockles are. I don't know.
I think they're the valves, but I'm not sure.
But somewhere deep inside. We feel warm and fuzzy about it. But it'd help us out even more if you shared that post on your own walls so your friends and family can see what you're listening to and why you like that episode. So do us a favor, repost when you see our posts. And it's like, hey, here's a new episode of Invasion of the Remake, and they just did The Creature from the Black Lagoon. Go listen to it. So repost that on your wall. We'd really appreciate it. Help us grow our audience. Help us reach another 100 episodes.
Yeah. We are an invasion. So if you tell two friends, and they tell two friends, and they tell two friends, then we take over the world.
Yes, and maybe we can stop the invasion of the remake from happening.
We are very kind overlords.
That's right. I mean, there's a lot of movies for us to still talk about, so we will see it at our 200th episode.
Yeah, and it's like we'll never run out. It seems the more we keep doing this, the more that happen.
Yeah. Every time you turn around, there's more we're hearing about.
For sure. And, we do take requests as well. I actually have another fan challenge for us.
Ooh.
Oh, excellent.
So I'll tell you guys later.
Yeah. The only caveat is we can access it. That's the only caveat.
Yeah. I think we'll be fine because he even told me where to find it. So
nice. See, there we go. That's what we like.
Yeah. So we have access to it. No problem.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's accessible. Yeah, if you of course you're listening to the episode, if you enjoyed it, another way you could do is tell people where to find the show. Tell them what platform you're listening on, but we're on a bazillion platforms. iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play Music, TuneIn Radio, Player FM, Blueberry. I think we're on Spreaker now.
Oh.
We're everywhere. So just search us out. Whatever your favorite podcast provider is, we're probably on it. So go look us up.
And in Google, we're right at the beginning.
Yeah. So you can find us. And of course, Libsyn, our host site, has their own app as well. So you can access through the Libsyn app as well.
Sweet.
Yep. Yeah. All right.
Easy to find us. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was Creature from the Black Lagoon. And that was fun. I hadn't seen the sequels before. So I just decided to blow through all three this week.
Nice.
And I mean, they're all pretty short, so it wasn't a huge time suck. And it's funny because I have a lot of these, and for the most part, I've seen a lot of the main ones. Mm-hmm. But I have the collection of the Wolfman and Frankenstein, etc., Invisible Man, and I've seen all the first movies and some of the sequels. I haven't still, even though I've had them forever, I haven't watched them yet.
That's because we're watching 163 movies for this podcast.
So
that's
true.
Why. Oh.
Everybody comes up to me and like, hey, did you watch American Gods? Did you watch Game of Thrones? I'm like, no, I watched some shitty movie last night for the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because I do that sometimes. I'm like, I really want to watch Game of Thrones or Blood Drive or American Gods. And I was like,
oh, nothing's keeping me from Blood Drive.
No, nothing's keeping me from Blood Drive either.
Very little is keeping me from American Gods, but I got to get on Blood Drive. But I'm afraid because I got to have time to watch our movies.
Yeah, well, the nice
and I'm
thing is
behind now.
It's episodic right now, but you have some episodes to get caught up.
Yeah.
But yeah, highly recommend that one. But yeah, I usually look at it and go, okay, it's Thursday. Oh, geez, I got 2 movies to watch this week. I have to watch one tonight because I'm busy tomorrow night. Right? So you really do need to plan it out. And sometimes, we don't get to do much other than watch the movies we're doing for the podcast.
Yeah.
And this is why we're steering away from anything with more than one remake.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Our very first episode, we did 4 movies.
Because we didn't know.
4. And the next time we did that was King Kong.
And we did 3 that time.
And that was,
3,
but it still probably counted hour-wise more than before.
That's true.
Yeah, when we count out the minutes, it's about the same.
Yeah. All right. Well, you guys have a lot of listening to because it's almost a week of your life to listen to every episode of us. So
that's 24 hours.
So get cracking. Yeah, that's if you don't sleep.
Yeah, probably 3 weeks of real-time listening.
Yeah.
Maybe even more.
Yeah, so there's a lot of back catalog there, and we're going to keep providing you new episodes every single week. Join us next week for our 2-year anniversary. It is episode 101, but if you start counting 52 weeks and 52 weeks, that's our 2-year anniversary next week. So we got another doozy for you, another big, highly requested episode, and this, of course, will be another Versus episode, and it'll be a good one. So don't you dare miss it.
It's going to be awesome.
Yep. Yeah, until then, I'm not telling you.
No.
Unless you have a fly on the wall that's listening in on our conversations, not telling you. All right, that's it. I've been Jason.
I'm always Sam.
I continue to be Trish.
And we are out of here.
Well, why don't we make up the expedition? We're here now, and after all, it does come under the heading of our work, doesn't it, David?
Oh, it certainly does. More and more, we're learning the meaning and the value of marine research. Look over here. This lungfish, the bridge between fish and the land animal. How many thousands of ways nature tried to get life out of the sea and onto the land. This one failed. He hasn't changed in millions of years. But here we have a clue to an answer. Someday spaceships will be traveling from Earth to other planets. How are human beings going to survive on those planets? The atmosphere will be different. The pressures will be different. By studying these and other species, we add to our knowledge of how life evolved, how it adapted itself to this world. With that knowledge, perhaps we can teach men to adapt themselves to some new world of the future.
Nice speech, David, but there's still a practical side to it. If I sound brash and more like a banker than a scientist, try to remember that it takes money to run an institute like ours. A find of any real importance can be of great financial value to us also.